Hello.
And welcome back to Movie Cinema Film with your hosts,
Leah Russo.
and Jordan Freed. We're here with your best films of the decade.
We're so happy to be here, but very stressed.
The aughts. The best decade of film ever, perhaps.
Oh.
At least the best decade of film that we've been alive for.
Interesting claim. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate claim. No?
I would need to take some time to think about that, but I don't know.
It was a very interesting decade of films. The industry definitely changed a lot. It was also the first crop of filmmakers that could make phones on their iPhones on a regular basis. So I feel like there was a mastery of film being seen.
You said make phones on your phones.
Did I say that? Phones on my phones?
Phones on your phones.
Damn it. I'm going to stop talking.
You can't. This is a podcast. Gotta talk. That's kind of the whole thing.
I'll just loudly sip coffee.
Oh, great. We should eat. We should do an ASMR. Like, we'll name a film, and then we'll bite into a potato chip. And then you go, name another film, then I bite into a carrot. We have lots of vegan food around this place.
Yep.
Thanks to you.
It's the year of veganism. It's the year of not drinking coffee besides when I'm on a podcast.
Oh, wait. You've been cutting off down
I have
on
not
coffee.
drank coffee yet this year. This is the first time I've drank coffee.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
but
bring that out in you.
Yeah, well, that's probably why I'm stumbling over my words, is because now I'm manic because I'm drinking coffee and getting stimulanted.
Well, that's what I love about you guys is every time I come over here, like, no matter who I'm coming to see or, like, what's going on, you guys always greet me with, like, coffee immediately, which I really appreciate. And, like, a good movie on.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically why I come over.
Today we were just watching, we meaning myself, by myself. I was watching a tiny house show.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
I feel like you could do that. You could do that very minimalist thing, right?
Be in a tiny house?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, like, definitely I could do it financially.
Yeah.
Like, that would definitely be a better way for me to live financially, I think, to, like, own something that is, like, very cheap, I guess, and then I could sell it down the road or just have it as, like, an extra thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing about tiny homes is you kind of have to live in an off-the-grid place because, like, you're just going to have to pay massive-ass taxes and whatever if you're in a close place to the city. Also, they have weird zoning laws in cities.
Oh my gosh. I'm not looking forward to doing our taxes. I'm a business owner. I have to do everything myself. Wow. Okay, we'll just blow past that.
You'll have to get a princess accountant.
Well, I have someone that does my taxes, like it's a family friend, but last year, like I had only been running the business like 3 months in 2018, and she was like, next year you might have to get someone who's like a real like tax person, because she's just like a general accountant. So it's just like, I'll do it myself, because that's how I'm an Aries, which so is Jordan. So I'm like, I'll do it myself, no big deal. And I'm probably going to end up making some huge mistake, and they're going to be like, you owe $1 million, even though you didn't even make anything close to that. That's probably what will happen. I'm just calling it now.
Yes.
I just want to also state that I'm in a house right now that has a bird cage. And inside the bird cage are printed out copies of black and white photos of Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. So if you know, you know.
That birdcage has come a long way, all the way from New Orleans. It was in our house in New Orleans when I moved in there, and I just stole it from the house.
Yeah.
Because we never had a bird.
Sounds
and the
good.
people before us left town, and they were kind of shady. Yeah, they moved away, and they came back to the house one time, and they were like, "Yeah, don't tell the cops that we moved. Like, don't tell them that we've left this house. Like, pretend we still live here." It's like, what?
Yeah. A lot of good stories start with "don't tell the cops."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was wild. They also had, like, a big, it was some kind of erotic painting that they had to come back and get, like, 2 months into us living there.
Oh.
It was an odd crew. One of the people made, like, the only film at my film school screening that had nudity in it. There were no other films at, like, the thesis film screening that had nudity, except this person who lived in my house before me. Very odd person.
Yeah.
She was an art film. person.
Should I
their
get
friend.
erotic paintings for my new place?
Yeah.
Would that be so funny if I like when I'm moving in, like I never even say anything to my roommates and they just see someone carrying like a giant vagina or something and they're like, oh, okay, this is what, okay, got it. You know? I would love that. I would think that was so funny if I had like a really eccentric, weird roommate.
Art definitely adds.
Yeah, I actually have like film related art mostly. Like I'm trying to like come up with a theme rather than just ordering like all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like planning it right now, but I already ordered a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood poster.
Word.
So, but it's not like the poster. It's like a poster designed by somebody else, like a fan. So it's really cool and it's beautiful. I'm so happy. I can't wait to move. Anyways, that's a good segue into our top 40 of the decade.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to talk about this. I think we're going to have a lot of disagreements, and I think we're going to have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
So I think for similarities,
I wonder how
do you
many...
want to do it? Do you want to talk about it when the person who ranked it higher has it, or when the person who says it first?
Probably ranked it higher. Okay. That's good. And also, let's make a bet right now. How many of the same movies are we going to have on our list?
I'm going to say less than half.
Less than half? That's probably a good, like, 17 or something. So we're doing top 40. I actually have 41 because I make my own rules, I guess. But yeah, I would say, I don't know, less than half. Yeah, maybe less than half. Yeah, because we do have different tastes, but then I think we also, like, do respect a lot of the same kind of art as well. So I'm going to say 17. We'll have 17 movies that are the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before we get into this, I've watched a lot of these films a long time ago, so don't judge me if my memory's bad. Don't, like, call me out in the podcast descriptions. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He didn't watch all 40 films.
Wait, so, like, remember that movie Black Swan with, like, all the birds that were swimming around the lake? Some of them were black, some of them were white. Natalie Portman wasn't there. It was a great movie. That's what you think Black Swan was about, or am I wrong?
I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay,
we'll talk about it once we get to it on my list.
Fine. Gotcha.
Yeah, but it is very tough because a lot of these movies I definitely watched under the influence, coming back to my dorm room.
Gotcha. Message received.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see.
But a lot of them were great.
It's sad how few movies that are on this list. Like, there are so many more amazing movies of the decade, but we have to narrow it down.
What if we have 80 different films?
Wow, that would be so cool.
All right, let's start out with Leah's number 40 film.
41.
41 film. To start us out, honorable mention of our whole...
It's not an honorable mention. It's on my list. It's Lion from 2016. Did you ever see Lion?
I did see Lion.
It was a beautiful movie. It's a true story about a little boy that went missing in India, and you know, they really did not have the means in his family or his community to find him, and then he becomes adopted by an Australian family and like is raised. Like, he's raised in, like, a white family, so he doesn't even feel like he's Indian. Like, he actually says, like, one of the most fascinating lines of the decade, which is, like, someone's asking him his nationality and, like, mentions that he's Indian, and he says, oh, I'm not really Indian, which is, like, wow, that says a lot about, like, identity and, like, and it's Dev Patel, so, like, you're looking at him and you're like, you're Indian. So it's, like... It's just so fascinating, and then it's a true story how he ended up finding his parents through Google Earth. Like, it took him years and years and years and years.
Google Earth.
He, like, looked every centimeter of the map until he found where he was from. And it's a beautiful movie, and it's also, like, not just a fascinating story. It's a well-crafted movie and made me cry, and I watched it, like, 3 times that year, and...
high-quality film.
It's so good. Yeah.
Nicole Kidman is good in that.
Oh, she's great. She has that one, like, really good scene, too, with him. And, yeah, I think it brings up a lot of questions about, like, you know, adoption and, like, where you come from versus, like, what you end up feeling like you are. Because it's, like, he wasn't white, but he was, like, raised white Australian. And it's just, like, very interesting to me. I don't know. I can't imagine the kind of, like, identity stuff you would be dealing with if you were adopted in general. Like, just... it's weird to come from somewhere else than you were raised.
It's
So
like energies.
yeah,
You're moving your energies.
I love you. Thank you for saying that. Okay, your turn.
My number 40 film is a film from this year. A new classic, I think. Midsommar
Ooh.
by Ari Aster. If you didn't watch this was the film about like a pagan festival.
Put on your sunglasses.
You should definitely see this. A24 was cooking up a lot of great things this decade. They have graced our lists many times, I'm assuming.
Love them.
They know how to distribute the good films and get them buzz, and this was no different. Florence Pugh was great. The script was awesome. I definitely didn't feel bored throughout it. I know I feel differently than Leah does about the film a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I loved it.
Wasn't my fave, but I respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 40 is Jackie.
Oh, word.
Do you see Jackie?
I think I've started it like 3 or 4 times.
Oh my god, rude.
I know, it is very rude.
Well, I saw this movie's kind of divisive. Like, I know people that I usually agree with that hate it, and I fucking loved it. I also, though, am fascinated by the Kennedys, and I have been since I was a kid, so I'm also biased, but I actually think that kind of makes it, my opinion, almost like more relevant, because I'm usually like very judgmental of movies about the Kennedys, and I'm like, this is bullshit, because I think a lot of people just kind of focus on the image and not about like who they really were, or like whatever. There's too many arguments to be made about like all of that kind of stuff, and I don't want to get into like a political thing, but I loved.
Never get political. It's movie cinema film.
I loved what Natalie Portman did with the character. I don't like. I think it was like the perfect combination of like an imitation of her while also bringing her own spin to it. I loved the way that it was filmed. Like that was the main thing that I loved was the cinematography. I love the things that they decided to focus on. Like when you're dealing with a topic of this size, obviously there's so many different things that you could set your movie on, and I just love the way they filmed her from behind so many times. I love the way they jumped around in time. I love the way they just show her kind of like sulking around the White House, and like they make her feel like such a regular person even though she's not a regular person. Like one thing I think is interesting, like when you're talking about celebrities, like a lot of the time I hear people say like, oh, you know, ultimately they're just like everybody else, they're just people, and it's like they are just people, and they do, you know, have blood running through their veins just like anyone else, but like they are in these extraordinary circumstances. So to say like, oh, they're just like everybody else, it's like, well, there's actually a combination of being just like everybody else and then a combination of like outstanding circumstances, and I thought this movie captured that really well, and the score is amazing by Mika Levy, so I love Jackie.
Do you want to go to your 39?
No, I think you should go to your
Okay, fine. I'm going to go with Hugo.
Ooh, nice choice.
Is that on your list?
No, very close though.
I actually watched Hugo for the first time straight through very recently.
Really?
Yeah, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was very magical. It's a good Christmas watch.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of like cogs and machinery. There's a lot of magic going on. We just got our Black Friday TV.
It's big, guys.
It's very big. And we've been watching a lot of films on it. And hopefully it'll make me a better filmmaker so then I can one day make you guys good films.
Aw, that's so
Yeah.
nice. I think that's exactly what Marty would want to hear, that like it would inspire somebody to make good movies.
I'm just like watching Marty going through his whole filmography.
Nothing delights me more than to hear that.
Yeah.
That's what I did when I was like, I want to say like 16, which at the time there weren't obviously like as many to go through, but yeah, I remember
It was harder
that.
to find too.
Yeah, but I had I had Netflix DVD service, so I was
you
always
just
like,
going through that. I didn't have the account info.
right?
I just had the streaming thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and by the way, I had Netflix DVDs even last year. Like I sometimes will subscribe, and then like for a month or so, if there's like some rare title that I don't necessarily know that I want to buy, like because sometimes it's like $39.99 for a DVD or something, and I'm like, what if I don't even like this movie and I've just spent $40? So then I'll like resubscribe to the DVD service because they really do have a good library. Still, like I mean, they've only like expanded it, so I still recommend the Netflix DVD service, actually. It's pretty awesome.
I would consider it, honestly. Like, if you watch a lot of movies, how could you go wrong? And,
Well,
like, you already can see most films from streaming services. This just fills in all the blanks because Netflix probably has everything.
Yeah, I also really love DVD features. Like, that's something from my childhood that, like, I remember when I was little and the first time, like, we got a DVD player, like, I was so excited. And I remember, like, the first few DVDs that my parents bought me and, like, clicking through the thing and being able to see, like, these movies that I loved, like, have all this bonus shit. Like, that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, oh my god, like, I couldn't, like, it was crazy to see, like, you know, like, when I was little, like, we didn't have YouTube yet, so, like, you didn't see, like, other footage of the movie that you loved. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like you could just type in the movie and all this shit would come up. So it was, like, very, very exciting, and I wish that streaming had bonus features. I know that sometimes it does, like, on Prime you can, like, do that or whatever, and I know Google Play you can do that too, but, like, it should just be a standard thing that, like, whatever's on the DVD also comes with, like, if you buy something on streaming. I wish that was, like, the case. So that's why I love doing the DVDs, this service. You can do, like, 1 a month. You can do up to, like, 5 a month. Or no, 5 at a time, not a month.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like,
imagine you're rolling with 5 Netflix DVDs at once.
I know. It's
Are you
hard to
watching
keep
those,
up with.
Dave?
No, well, like, at the time, okay, so at the time, like, when I'm talking about, like, when I, like, watched all of Marty's movies, at that time, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have 5 at a time. I think I had, like, 3. I could have 3 out at a time. Which
I'm actually going to look this up right now.
yeah, and it was really great, but there also weren't a ton of, like, there wasn't any streaming services. So, like, the way that I watched movies was, like, DVDs and then, like, just watching them on TV. So there was so much more time. Like, now, like, sometimes, because I've canceled it multiple times, because, like, I'll get a DVD and then I'm like, oh, I feel like watching something else, and I have every movie ever made at my fucking fingertips. So it's, like, really hard to just watch that one DVD that you have, or at least for me, I guess I get distracted easily.
Wow.
Yeah. So where are we on our...
I think we're at your...
It's my turn?
Yeah.
My number 39 is Dallas Buyers Club.
I left that off my list, but it is a classic, I feel like.
It is. I know it's become kind of controversial. Like, some people don't like the portrayal of... I feel like anything involving AIDS or trans people is always going to be very touchy. No one's ever... Like, it's never going to make everybody happy. But I loved the movie. I thought it was so incredibly powerful. I thought Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto were unreal. And it's really... Well, I shouldn't say unreal. They were very real. But they were such good actors in it that it was like, I couldn't believe how great they were.
Is that it? It's called dvd.netflix.com?
Yeah.
That sounds sketchy as hell.
Well, it's the DVD portion of... Jordan's on his laptop, by the way, guys. It's like the DVD section. Like, they don't want to confuse people that are just on there for the streaming.
Wow.
But yeah, I was a very early adopter of Netflix. Like, I remember Netflix when there was no streaming and when Netflix was just emailing DVDs, because I was, like, as a kid, I was, like, very, like, so obsessed with movies. Like, couldn't... Like, that's all I wanted to do. I don't have as much memories of, like, going outside. I have memories of, like, waiting. I would go outside to go to the mailbox and get my Netflix DVD. And then I'd go back inside immediately, so. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yep. So anyway, Dallas Buyers Club, great film. And what else was I going to say? I haven't watched it in so long, but I really, like, I was very, very affected by it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next up at 38 is The Social Network. Very far down on my list, I'm assuming, compared to you.
Mine's higher, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just wait
Yeah.
to talk about it later.
Cool.
Yeah. I won't hate on it.
Okay. For my number 38, I put Uncut Gems.
We'll wait on that.
Okay.
We're already getting into the repeats.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So that's 2.
2.
Yep.
Yeah. Next up I have Carol at 37.
That did not make my list. Go off.
No, it's just like a very good art film by Todd Haynes. I don't think we got a lot of great films from him, but he's this decade, but because, like, they move slower I think, just as a result of kind of doing them his own way. And it was just a beautiful film, very stylistic. It had a very odd tone to it, which I enjoyed a lot, and I feel like really defined like a different time, like when you actually had to talk to people and you actually had to like wait and like feel the rhythm of a moment. And I think that's something that like some films are kind of trying to go back to and show, like especially with The Irishman, and like this idea of like, oh, just wait, like things take a while. Like things don't happen overnight, like you need to wait, you need to see the process out, and like all of this kind of, I don't know, patience that we've taken away from our existence since we have computers on our phones that just allow us to get all of the information we want instantly.
Yeah, I love the color palette of Carol too. It's unique.
Yeah.
And I like that it's a Christmas movie, kind of.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of queer films on my list.
Good.
It's good.
Love
good
that.
Place to start, I guess.
Anything that's about a hidden relationship or a secret relationship, I'm like very fascinated by. And this was a very good representation of that pain, like when you're hiding, when you can't just be. Yeah. Sucks. Anyway. Okay. I love that movie though. It's not, when I say something isn't on my list, it's not, I mean like I'll say if I didn't like it. It's not that. It's just that I love movies too much and there's too many. So my number 37 is Alexander Payne's Nebraska.
Oh, I forgot about this. Damn.
I'm
can't embarrassed that I don't have it on my list.
I think about it hourly, so I've never forgotten. I love Alexander Payne. Actually, every single movie he's ever made, with the exception of Downsizing, which no one's perfect. This movie, like...
Downsizing? Never heard of it. Never watched it. Don't even know it exists.
Really? Matt Damon? Kristen Wiig? You didn't even hear about it?
No, I know it exists. But I just pretend it doesn't.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I just prefer to live in the Sideways Descendants universe.
Actually, you know what? Watch it, Jordan, because you might like it. I don't know. It's very weird. Like, I appreciate the ambition. Like, I definitely appreciate the ambition of that movie.
Do you think I was poisoned by the media?
I'm not you, so I didn't have that immediate thought, but... But I don't know. Yeah, this is like a quiet, patient, hilarious movie about family, and I have an older dad too. He's like nowhere near, like, he's not like old and decrepit at all. He's like very, very, like, people always think he's like 20 years younger than he is. But it's definitely like relatable in the sense that like you just have to you have to accept that you're dealing with like an old timer, and there's like a different set of rules for him. There's a different set of everything in the world, and like I love the companionship of like the father and son, and how the son, like how Will Forte, who gives such an amazing performance, like deals with his dad having this delusion about, you know, winning $1 million, and how he just kind of lets go of the need to be right and the need to insist, like, Dad, this isn't happening, you're not going to win $1 million, and he just says, all right, you want to go to Nebraska, or you want to go to Lincoln and get your money, let's go, it'll be a memory, it'll be a good story, and like let's just go and do it. I love that. And the whole thing, like just the way the family's portrayed, everybody in town, how, you know, once they start to hear about this money, how they change and how they turn, and obviously Bruce Dern is just divine, perfect, June Squibb, perfect, Bob Odenkirk, you know, just incredible. And I just don't know how anyone could not love this movie. And it's in black and white. Very interesting choice. And the scene at the end, no spoilers, but when he's driving the truck around town, just makes me grin from ear to ear every time. So good.
Word.
Yeah.
Next up on my list is Blade Runner 2049.
I didn't see it.
Wow.
I know.
No, it's just like a continuation of the original Blade Runner. And I just thought it was good sci-fi and very visual, and Denis Villeneuve is
a genius. For sure. I will watch it someday. So I went to 3 different colleges before I graduated, and I I was majoring in filmmaking at one point, was majoring in cinema studies at one point, and then was majoring in theater at one point. And every single one of those majors involves Blade Runner. So I watched Blade Runner in so many of my classes. It really is like, you know, it's like a masterpiece. But I am so tired of it. Like, I can't study it anymore. I'm done. And I just don't think that... I think because I had an oversaturation of that movie in school, which I was in school when the second one came out. Despite my love for the director, despite my love for Ryan Gosling, I was like, I'm just not in this headspace right now. And, like, but I will definitely watch it. But yeah, I watched it in my lighting class. I watched it in my screenplay class. I watched, you know, everything. And what else did I watch it in? It's like relevant in so many ways. Oh, my literature class, because it's based on that book, The Electric Sheep.
Yeah.
What is it? Do
Androids
Dream of Electric Sheep? Yeah. So I studied the book, like everything. Studied every fucking thing. I wrote so many papers about it. I was like, I can't do this, you guys. But I'm excited to watch it someday in the future, so sell me on it.
Just, don't you want to know what happens after? That's, like, really it. Like,
okay.
I just feel like you want to follow it up. Kind of like The Matrix. Like, I don't know if The Matrix definitely delivered with the sequels as much as this delivered. But, like, this was definitely a good sequel. And I think a good continuation of the franchise. And, like, I was totally down with it. And it was a good use of, like, new lighting technologies and new digital technologies. And it was just cool to see, like, 2049 LA, which, like, scary enough, like, could look more like this as we, like, see the world kind of changing, see our push for sustainability. Like, it's kind of funny, this is almost more likely because if LA is on fire, like, it could kind of turn into that dystopian land now. Like, we do feel like we're burning closer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we might get cyber hacked by Iran and China and Russia.
Or aliens.
Or aliens. Who the F knows? Like, honestly, I don't even worry about the aliens because, like, right now I'm broke, so I'm going to be the person who dies and doesn't make it to see the aliens.
What if you get randomly selected?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm trying to feel their energies. Aliens, please take me.
Yeah, we're ready. I mean, really, what else is there to see in this world? We can move on to another one. All right. Should I do my number 39? So my number 39...
You're on 39?
36.
36, cool.
My number 36 is Comet, a Sam Esmail film.
What?
Have you seen
the fuck? I'm putting this into something, yeah.
I think it's still on Netflix. So this is a very underrated film. A lot of people don't know about it. I'm always recommending it. You know how people are always posting on Facebook, like especially like people that they're not that into film and TV, and they always just post like, hey guys, any Netflix recommendations? And I'm always like, yeah, I have 1,000 of them, but I always recommend this movie because it's... Comet, yeah, because very few people have seen it, so once I recommend it, it's always... Yep, there it is. It's always something people haven't seen, and then they watch it, and they're like, oh shit. It's a love story, but it's kind of... I mean, it's not like Eternal Sunshine, but it's kind of similar in that it's like a love story told in a more subversive way than what we're used to. It stars Justin Long and Emmy Rossum, who are both so phenomenal in it. You believe them as a couple so much.
It's so funny that that's Mr. Robot.
Yep. And
he made a romance.
Yes, but the movie is really not... I mean, I guess it is... It's kind of like Mr. Robot in that, like I said, it's subversive, but it's so romantic. Like, it's so romantic, and it made me cry so much when I watched it. I really related to it. Because at the time, like, I was in a relationship, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this relationship is going to work out for, like, the rest of our lives, but, like, I want it to so badly. Yeah. Like, at that point, I was in that place where, like, I wanted it to work out so badly that there was literally no other option in my mind. And it's the same thing, like, for the Justin Long character. And, like, he has some, like, they both have lines in it that are just so, like, exactly how I feel about love and romance. And then the other thing is, like, he really, like, experimented with lighting and film techniques in this. So like even if you look at the poster, it's like this like lavender, like pastel, really nice, like not your normal like romantic movie poster. And that's kind of how the movie is, like, especially when they first meet. They meet at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is someplace that I've always wanted to go. And I don't want to like get into too many details. You should just watch it, but like just the lighting is amazing. Like it's beautiful. So I just love that they took like a very basic concept of just like, here's this couple and we're gonna go through their relationship and show you like good moments and bad moments. But then he decided to like film it in this way that was so unique and use these really unique techniques, and I just really appreciate it. It's a beautiful movie.
Word.
Yeah.
So now we are on to 35.
Yeah.
I went with American Honey.
Loved it.
To be controversial.
Didn't make my list, but loved it.
F it. It was probably the weirdest like road movie with Shia LaBeouf that we'll ever see.
Well,
and I guess I could leave it at that. No,
give
it was
him
just
time. He could he could make another one.
no. I think it definitely covered a part of America that we don't really see, and it was cool. I know we're probably going to be talking about the Florida Project later, but it definitely reminded me a little bit of that, and just like this weird like wasteland of like no opportunity left in America, and like how do we make money in this time where like people don't even want to hire people who have college educations. Like we literally have kids running around selling magazines and stuff.
Yes.
And it definitely was a good metaphor for kind of the gig economy that we're living in right now, and kind of how everybody makes money off of scams basically, and everything is kind of BS, and you're probably going to be abused by somebody who has power over you. Yeah, it was just like a very weird, true, beautiful film. I don't know.
It's very raw. And like I was saying, we were talking about it actually before we started recording. And anyone out there who's like interested in this movie, don't let the running time like deter you. I think, is it over 3 hours?
Oh, it's long as hell.
Yeah, it's really long. And I remember turning it on and thinking like, oh, I'll probably watch an hour, 90 minutes tops of this, and then I'll watch the rest tomorrow, because I'm not going to be able to like sustain that long of a movie, like 3 hours plus. And I watched it from beginning to end without even stopping it to like use the bathroom. Like I was so into it. I'm always really impressed, because as much as I love movies, I don't always like long movies. I'm not always like into. I think that movies should be like a tight 100 minutes a lot of the time. So the fact that it was able to like not just keep my attention, but like grip me for that long is very impressive. That's like a Marty, he's kind of cornered the market on that. So I was very impressed.
It's a good like depression movie. If you're like super depressed, you could just sit in your house for 3 hours and just watch this movie and be like, whoa, maybe I could turn my life around.
Yep, you could. Anyone can. Actually, it didn't make my list because it's from 2001, but Vanilla Sky is one of my favorite movies of all time, and there's a line in that movie.
Oh, fuck, I have to watch that too.
Every passing minute is a chance to turn it all around, which is so true. Like, that really is true. I think about that all the time, and Jordan's just reached for his large book, which is 1001 Movies to See Before You Die.
I just wanted to see if Vanilla Sky was on it, so then I had permission to watch it. No, Vanilla Sky is not on it. I can't watch Vanilla Sky. I don't have time.
It's on my list. It's on my 1,000 movies to watch.
Well, you're not Manola Dargis and A.O. Scott.
Who the hell are those people?
They were the New York Times. I don't know.
Well,
This book probably isn't. Yeah. I don't know. This is just a starting point. 1,000 films that they told me to watch.
Vanilla Sky is so underrated, but that's not what we're here to talk about, so I'll refrain.
Yeah, that is a weird tangent we just got. Also, though, I'll open up to the best films of the decade for that decade.
Cool.
Because they have them here.
Nice.
So then we could see some commentary also. Wow.
Right.
Word.
My next movie is my number 35 is Django Unchained. Is that on your list?
It is not.
Wow.
I actually left off Tarantino, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Fine. I don't know what to say about this movie. It's like amazing. The D is silent, and that's all I have to say.
That's it?
Right. I mean, like, I don't know what else could be said about it. It's a great movie. It's Quentin Tarantino. And I really love the performances. Jamie Foxx has never been better. Like, despite winning an Oscar for Ray, he's much better in this movie. And Leo's amazing. King Schultz is my hero, and I love him dearly. And I'm so happy that Tarantino wrote him a role where he's not a villain. Because, like, he played the villain in Inglourious Basterds and then won the Oscar. And then he was cast as a villain in every other movie that he made. And he was, like, not as good in those movies because they were very shittily written. And then he got to play this, like, adorable, cute King Schultz. And I love their whole journey. It's a road movie, but on dirt roads. And I'm all for it. So there's so many things you could say about that movie. I'm just going to stop. So what's your 34?
My 34 is Frances Ha.
Nice.
I feel like this was just the start of a good creative partnership between...
Definitely.
Or I guess did they work on Mistress America before?
Wasn't
Frances
that
Ha?
after?
After, I think, yeah.
I love Mistress America, too.
I have not seen it.
That's really good.
I'll have to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's Noah Baumbach directed, Greta Gerwig, and she is fantastic. And is it her script?
No.
No, it's not.
Mistress America was, I think, her script, or co-written by her.
Word. Who wrote this?
But did Noah write it? He did, right?
Oh, he did write. No, they wrote it together.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. So it was they wrote it together, and it's just such a cute movie about friendship and living in your 20s. 30s,
And being like, wait, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like trying to find yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I feel like it just foreshadowed what was to come.
I love the poster,
honestly, in a
too.
lot of ways, I feel like this is better than Lady Bird.
Oh, interesting take.
But I don't know. I did end up ranking Lady Bird higher than it, but I don't know. I do like enjoy like the fact that this is very short and complete, and it's black and white, and it's like more hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Lady Bird is a very sterile film in a lot of ways, and is almost like too perfect for like what it's trying to be.
Yeah.
It's almost like why get really like. It didn't feel like it needed to be so perfect and polished for like the coming of age story. Like I feel like yes, for Little Women it works well to be really polished because like you're trying to convey like a certain time, but I feel like for Lady Bird at times like it kind of alienated people because it was just like, oh well, like yeah, this is a story about somebody's like life and whatever, but like what was the worst thing that really happened in Lady Bird?
That's a really good point. Like, Frances Ha kind of feels like it was made by Frances Ha. Like it kind of seems like she made the movie. Like some, like, 26-year-old who doesn't know what the fuck is happening in her life yet, like, made this movie, even though it was made by someone who, like, it was directed by Noah, who had made, like, many good films before then and, like, has a lot of skill, but it feels kind of, like, rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I like
point.
the artsiness of it. It feels like very New York.
Yes.
Which, yeah, cool.
Okay, my number 34 is Annihilation.
Oh, I left it off.
Yeah. It's just, I talked about it on our other, what was that, Best of 2018?
Yeah.
I just had to include it because it's so imaginative. Like, the visuals, the sounds. And the sound, yeah, the sound of the visuals. You don't... Thank you. You just don't see or hear that ever, really. Like, really don't hear that or see that kind of stuff ever. So it had to be on my list. Loved it.
Cool. We'll keep it moving.
Yep.
I'm going to move on to a film that feels realer and realer as we move deeper and deeper into the future. Her.
Aw, that's on my list, too. It's a little bit higher.
Yeah. So we'll talk about it later.
Okay. My 33 is Nightcrawler.
We'll talk about that later as well.
Oh, shit. That's 4 now that we have the same?
I think so.
Cool.
Moonrise Kingdom is my 32.
That's not on my
My
list.
only Wes Anderson film that I picked.
Oh, really? So you like that more than Grand Budapest Hotel?
Oh yeah, I think when like Wes Anderson starts going into other people's culture, I just don't want to watch it. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Okay, gotcha.
Moonrise Kingdom is like very cool. No, like don't get me wrong, like Darjeeling Limited, like I like it a lot, and like I liked Grand Budapest Hotel, and it was cool. But like also, what? Yeah, like what are you doing?
I feel you.
You know, like, do another bottle rocket. It feels a little weird. But Moonrise Kingdom does not feel weird because it's like making fun of a lot of American values, and it's also super cute and very stylized, and it's a good child actor film.
I love child actors. I'm obsessed with child actors in a non-creepy way.
Yes. I just watched Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Great child actors.
Yes.
I think that's why you recommended it to me at one point.
Is it?
I think so. Or maybe it was because you were talking about Marty.
Probably. That's usually what I'm talking about on any given moment. So.
Child actors and Marty.
Basically, yeah, I don't really have much other interests. I was thinking about the other day, like, if I had the chance to interview Mary-Kate and Ashley, like, where would I even begin? But that's a whole other podcast, so... Anyways.
Yeah, this film rocks. It's just like very chill. I don't know. I watched it also at a time when I was like, it came out in 2012, so like I was in high school, so like it wasn't really like, it didn't feel like it was weird either. It was just like, it felt like, oh, like these are kids and I was just a kid, and it's like, oh, like I miss this as I'm going into adulthood.
Another really interesting color palette.
Yes, one of the best, probably. All right.
Okay, my next movie, number 32, is I, Tonya.
Wow, that's my number 31, so we should start talking about that.
Cool. I talked about this before on a podcast that we did. Yeah, we both talked about it. I just loved this movie. I love that Margot Robbie kind of took the reins of her career, like, especially because her first big movie was Wolf of Wall Street, where like she was known for being like super hot. Like, not that her performance wasn't good, but like that in that role, like her body and like her face and stuff, and the fact that she was like a trophy wife, like, was a big part of it. So like I thought it was really cool that she decided to become a producer, and she didn't just want to do like movies where she was the eye candy. I think that's amazing. Kind of like Charlize Theron, kind of same deal. Like with, I feel like when you're that gorgeous, it's like very easy to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna be rich and like just do these like shitty movies.
That's what star power can do.
Yeah.
Like if you have that power to your brand, like people saw her in Wolf of Wall Street and everybody was like, who the fuck is that?
Right. It's like, oh, it's like we're just gonna put her in all the Barbie roles, and it's like, no, she ended up doing this like very interesting portrayal of Tonya Harding, who's like very fascinating to me. And, you know, the movie's definitely not a perfect movie, but I thought Margot was so good. I always cry when she hits the triple axel at...
Problematic icon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I love Tonya Harding. Like, I love her story. I love, like, even if she knew about it, if she didn't know about it, I don't care. It's, like, fascinating to me. I love pop culture, so, like, I don't give a shit. But, like... I just loved the film. That was a film I knew I was gonna love that year. Like, I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, yep, this is for me, absolutely. And I like went to see it like as soon as it opened. It was only playing in the city, and I went like straight in. And those were the days of Movie Pass, so I didn't even have to pay for my ticket, which was rad.
Same.
And but I would have paid.
Now I never go to the Angelica. It sucks.
I went to. It does not suck.
No, it sucks that I don't go to the Angelica.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It sucks because I just go to AMC now because I have the AMC A-list.
Yeah.
That's what sucks.
Yeah, I love the film. What do you want to say about it?
No, I think you basically covered it all. I thought it was just a super funny portrayal of a very dark story and a dark life. Mm-hmm. And I think it was also a film that was just needed in the time. Because, like, it was definitely in, like, the peak of a lot of, like, the Me Too stuff in, like, Hollywood. And it was kind of showing abuse from husbands in, like, a different way. Mm-hmm. And, like, how it affects people in a different way. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I just thought it was a cool, interesting portrayal of the Tonya Harding story. And was important. And it was cool that Margot Robbie like produced it and did a fantastic job playing that character.
Mm-hmm. My favorite line from the movie is when, even though she's like tricking her daughter or whatever, when the mom says to her, like, she hasn't seen her in a long time and she's like become famous since then, and she's like, so are you holding up okay, like with all your fame and all this shit going on? And Tanya's just kind of like, yeah. And the mom's like, you know, fuck them, remember, like, you know. And she's like, I know. And I was like, I love that, like, even though they had this like abusive like relationship, like that bond of just being like, yeah, fuck everybody.
Also that relationship, yeah. I totally forgot about the mother-daughter stuff also. That
really,
was also a very big aspect of it.
Really interesting, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. There were a lot of very layered films that weren't even like the best films of the year or considered the best films of the year.
2017 was fucking wild. Still like my favorite year of film. Like, it was hard for my like 20, like, it was hard for like my top 20 not to just be 2017 and then have the rest be the rest of the decade. Let's just say that.
So what was your 31?
31 is Scream 4.
Wow.
First horror movie I have on the list, first sequel I have on the list.
Go for it. I've never seen it.
Holy shit. This movie was such a big deal for me. Like, I can't... Like, think about the most excited you've ever been in your life, multiply it by 100, and that was how big this movie was for me. So, like, I grew up watching the Scream movies. We actually turned on Scream at your housewarming party because of me. Remember that? Yeah. It's just, like, something that needs to happen at all gatherings. Yeah, like, I can't stress enough how obsessed I was with these movies growing up. I watched them every day. Like, literally, I would watch at least one of the Screams every day. And I knew every word to them. And my friends would, like, recite, me and my friends at school, like, during the day, we would recite the movie. And I think they're all brilliant. Like, I think that they are some of the best movies ever made, including the sequels. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, Scream was groundbreaking and legendary, but, like, the sequel sucked. And I don't feel that way. I love them all. But there was, like, 10... how many years? 11 years in between Scream 3 and Scream 4. But all the same people came back, including Wes Craven. And Wes had some not so successful movies around that time too. And, you know, he wasn't, I don't think, seen, like, he was still seen as a legend, but, like, there's a difference between being seen as a legend for, like, your past movies and then, like, in the contemporary times being seen as a legend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, there was, like, for me, the anticipation of this movie was huge, and I could have very well hated it. I waited for my friend to watch it. Like, my closest friend that we would watch all the time, Gina, I flew to Indiana, and we went to see it together. And it completely lived up to the hype, and more like it updated the entire concept of Scream for the time. And it was actually a little bit before its time, because it came out in 2011, and it had, like, live streaming. Like, the killers this time had the idea of live streaming the kills, which I don't think was, like, like 2011, yes, people were live streaming, but now people fucking live stream everything all the time. So, like, it was just very before its time. They really, like, you know, if anyone out there is, like, super young and doesn't know, like, Scream kind of twisted the whole horror genre on its back, because it's, like, a very scary movie, like, legitimately scary movie, but it's also, like, the kids in the movie know that they're in a horror movie. Like, not literally, but, like, they know, they, like, use horror movies as a, like, a primer for what's happening to them. So there's, like, murders going on, and they're all talking about, like, well, you know, just like in Basic Instinct, the killer could be a woman, you never know. Like, they reference all these movies, and it's kind of like a satire. It is a satire. It's almost like a parody. So, like, then the second movie plays on sequels. The third movie plays on trilogies. And so this fourth movie had to, like, completely subvert the whole thing and update it for, like, an 11 years later thing. So, like, Twitter is involved and, like, all that kind of stuff. And they really just, they delivered exactly what I wanted, and I couldn't have been happier with it. And I do think it's, like, for me, it's, like, undoubtedly one of the best of the decade, especially because they were able to take something that's, like, so iconic and not ruin it in any way. Like, it's, like, it's just, like, they made it, like, they made another Scream movie successfully, instead of, like, you know, fucking up the whole series, or, like, adding in some kind of crazy, like, new like, element that would just make the whole, like make the, I hate when, like, in sequels, like, they'll add something that, like, almost negates the first movie or whatever. And they didn't do that. It was such a good update, and honestly, like, just the sadistic nature, like when they reveal the killers, and it's like, I'm not gonna reveal it what happens, but like there's a lot of commenting on Scream 4 about like fame and how far people will go to get it, and how people idolize people that are not good people, and just because they're famous. So I love it.
It's very real.
Mm-hmm.
My number 30 is a very disturbing film that I think has defined the last 8 years probably in a lot of ways. We need to talk about Kevin. If you haven't seen this film by Lynn Ramsey, it's a very dark film about kind of the family dynamics of a family whose son kind of commits a mass violent act, and just the events leading up to it, kind of. And it really is like, you know what's going to happen, because like it says it on the back of the DVD when you pick it up and stuff like that, which like you probably did not see it in theaters because it was very independent and very like off the grid. But it had John C. Reilly and Tilda Swinton and Ezra Miller, right? Was Ezra Miller the guy?
Yes, he was, and he was brilliant. And I mean, of course, Tilda was, otherworldly.
Yeah.
I love the movie. I mean, even just visually, like, it's so interesting visually, but like, this is one movie where I would tell people, like, it's not for everyone. Like, I know a lot of people that I wouldn't recommend this movie
Vox
to.
Lux level of triggering.
Yeah, but I actually think it's, like, so much more disturbing, and, like, I mean, it's so dark. Like, it's really, like, cutting. Like, it's hard to watch. You feel, like, nasty, like, and, like, dirty. Like, you're like, oh my god, it's just so...
Well, it feels like it's being like, America, you've lost control of your children, and like you've set bad examples, and like this is what you're left with now.
Yeah.
Like you literally have your kids killing other kids and stuff like that because you guys couldn't connect with them and treat them humanity or teach them humanity.
Mm-hmm. It's just so, it's so good. I mean,
yeah.
Lynn Ramsey deserves so much more credit than she gets, but like that's a whole other podcast. So.
Yes. And before we take a break, would you like to tell us your 30?
My 30 is another horror movie, The Babadook.
Word. I need to see The Babadook.
Oh my god, you never watched it? Oh
No,
my god, Jordan.
There's so many films I'm like looking up right now, and I'm trying to find where they are. Oh gosh.
Dude, okay, so I love horror movies, but they don't scare me. That's not why I watch them. I think especially because like I work in the business, it's very hard for me to get scared when I'm watching a movie. Like sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'll be like, ooh, like that is a very scary concept, or that is a very scary image, but I don't actually feel scared. I'm just kind of like almost from a technical standpoint saying like, oh wow, that was a really effective like horror scene. This movie fucking terrified me. I was so scared. I was so nervous. I was so anxious, and I was like panicked like watching it. And I think it's because the set design and the sound design and the acting is so effective and unique that it just affected me in a different way. It's very, very distinct. Like, it's not really like, I can't really compare it to anything. And I was genuinely terrified and upset watching it. The child in the movie is one of the things that I think is the most powerful and effective. Like, his performance is so unnerving. Like, there's just something about, like, obviously the whole movie is like a metaphor for grief and how that affects a family, and you can just tell like how much this kid is suffering, and it's so hard to watch, but that's part of the horror of it. It's like that's part of the horror of life that we all have to deal with. And like I think that like I've had, like, to get super personal, like I had a lot of death in my childhood. So like like between the ages of like 6 and 15, I went to like 20 funerals.
Oh Jesus.
And some of them were family members that I like really loved and was close with and was devastated by, and some of them were just like my dad's friends who I didn't really know, but like he was heartbroken by it or something. But like when you're a kid, you know, even if you're not like super close to the person that passes away, it's still like very weird because you're like, oh, that guy came to my house one time for Christmas and now I'm looking at his body in a casket. Like, that's very weird for a kid. But like my parents were not about like hiding shit from me. They were just like, yeah, this is life, like this is what happens. And then, you know, I did have some family members of mine that I was like devastated by them dying and everything. So like so like a horror movie that's about the like brutal discomfort of death and like realizing how real that is and like the abandonment feeling of it and like seeing that through a child's eyes with this color palette and with the sound design. The sound design is so scary. It really is. I mean, the movie's brilliant. Jennifer Kent directed it, and I haven't seen her new movie, The Nightingale. I've heard it's like brutally violent and like really hard. Like my friend can watch like anything, and she said she turned it off because it was too intense for her. So I'm kind of excited to see that, but I think some of the genius of the Babadook is like they only show the Babadook at specific moments and they don't give it all away. It's not like, he's chasing this kid around the house the whole time. Like it's very, very very selective to when they actually show his image or his shadow or the few times they show the whole image of him. Like just brilliant. Just such a brilliantly, you could tell that they like slaved over the storyboards of this movie, and I just will forever be very, very impressed by it. It's one of the only movies that's ever scared me in my life. So cheers, Jennifer Kent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with that, we will take a break.
Yes.
Stay tuned for our top 30 of the decade.
Woo. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Why not try it?
Okay, I think we're into our episode.
So Jordan was just talking about how despite the fact that he doesn't have drawing talent, he wants to animate his own series. So we'll see how that goes.
I just need somebody to draw the things and then I'll move the things.
Oh, I thought you wanted to draw it.
No, I don't want to draw it at
Having not.
all. I just want to move the things that are already drawn on the paper.
Okay.
So, we're back. Leah's yawning. I guess we're already a little too tired to go on with this damn world.
I didn't sleep very much last night,
Oh no.
but it's fine.
Well, we're back.
Yeah.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed that ad. Whatever that ad was.
We left off at number 29? Or
We're
30?
starting at 29 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go, because I rambled on about Babadook.
Well, we're going into Lady Bird.
Nice.
Is it on your list?
No, but I love it.
Lady Bird, like I talked about it a little bit already, Greta Gerwig is probably one of the filmmakers that we're going to be seeing the most in the next 20 years.
Yep.
And this was kind of the film that put her on the map because it was her first film that she directed, right? Or did she direct Mistress America? No. Noah Baumbach
I
directed
thought
it?
that she... Did they co-direct it?
Maybe. I didn't do my research.
Alright.
But,
Neither did I.
I haven't watched it, so I don't know that much about it. But, super cool film. Like I said, it's just super polished. It's just like a perfect film in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think you could have made, like, an independent film trope in a more perfect way. And that's how I guess I'll put it.
Yeah.
It felt like... Oh, sorry.
No, go.
Just like what I was saying, like, it just felt... For what Greta Gerwig, like, her persona is, it felt very weird for it to be a very sterile film, but also she wants to be considered a Scorsese, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, that's what I heard her saying in an interview. Is like, she was talking about how much she watches Scorsese films. And I think that's dope, because, like, even if she is, like, this grungy, artsy girl from, like, Northern California...
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is now trying to be Scorsese and kind of succeeding. Like, she just did a very massive period piece with Little Women, with the best stars of our generation, probably. And Lady Bird was kind of starting that trend, I guess, with her own, like, personal story of becoming an artist, I guess, in a way, through Lady Bird.
Yeah.
The person, Lady Bird, not the film Lady Bird.
That I love the mother-daughter relationship the most. Like, I know, like, I love Allison Janney, and she definitely deserved, like, to win an Oscar, but, like, I wish that, like, her performance was more one note, which is not her fault. Like, that's what the character was and called for. But I thought that the performance from Laurie Metcalf was so just... There were so many layers of that. It was such a realistic mother-daughter. Like, I mean, I think, like, there's probably, like, when it comes to my mom, like, I love her more than anything, but, like, I also, we've had those moments of, like, it's just impossible to, like, even get through to each other. Like, and this movie really represented that well.
Yes, I also agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Being young, being an artist, being a child in post-2000 world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very chill.
Good movie.
What was your 29?
Let's see. My number 29.
I like how we just went into like a 4-hour podcast. We just don't podcast like ever, and now we're just doing like a 4-hour podcast.
I know. This morning we were talking about something else, and I was like, "Oh, I want to do a podcast," and you're like, "Oh, can you come over?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
And now it's just 4 hours for you guys. How blessed are you guys? How blessed on your New Jersey Transit trains and your car radios and your earbuds as you try to fall asleep and not think about the things that you hate in life.
Exactly. My number 29 is kind of like a joint movie. Not that kind of movie. It's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2.
Whoa! Hot take.
Who
directed those movies?
David Yates. And, okay, so, wait.
Never seen these. Don't even know who dies.
I can. Will you please, like, get with humanity, Jordan? Because I can't do this. I can't do this. Oh, God.
What good would this podcast be if I've seen Harry Potter?
Oh, my God.
It works because I haven't seen Harry Potter and you have.
You love reading, so you should read. Have you read any of the books?
I read one of them
Jesus
in the
Christ.
middle.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay. I'm just gonna...
I feel like I was
Take a
too
deep
young
breath.
to read them when the first one came out.
Okay.
That's true.
I
was too young to read them when the first one came out, so I started with the movies. And then, like, once I had already seen movies, I was like, why should I start reading from the beginning? Which is dumb, and there's probably more mythology, and I probably would have loved mythology, but that's just not where...
Okay, do me a favor. Go to the library, get Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
I can't.
Take
I
it
just
off
can't
the
do
shelf.
it.
Why?
I just don't have the time to go to Harry Potter right now.
I can't, Jordan.
I can't go back to Harry Potter. I need to, like, expand my horizons.
I'm leaving.
Also, I really don't like J.K. Rowling at this point, and I don't really want to support her.
See, I don't care. Like, I mean, I don't want to, like, go hang out with her, but, like, I don't care what she says because, like, I love Harry Potter, and I don't need her to be, like, the greatest person in the world. I just, like, love Harry Potter.
I just don't love billionaires who tell us not to have Jeremy Corbyn or Bernie Sanders, but we can move on from that.
I haven't even been, I know that she said some shit. I haven't even been keeping up with it, so I don't even know, like, exactly what she said, but,
she literally is just like to everyone, labor, labor,
Okay. Thank you for that. So anyway, I don't know how to, like, say this, but you are missing out on a huge part of life, and you need to experience Harry Potter. But, like, so I love the movies. The books are undoubtedly so much better, and there's a lot that the movies leave out. I mean, Alfonso Cuarón directed one of them, so, like, I feel like you really should watch at least that one, even though you'll be totally lost. But, yeah, I mean...
I've seen most of the Harry Potters.
Okay, so, like, obviously Harry Potter is a huge part of my life and my childhood and my existence. And that's, like, a whole other story, but, so these movies specifically, it's one book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. They separate it into 2 movies. And the first movie is, like, very slow. It's, like, very calm. There's not that many action scenes. It feels like a completely different genre of movie than all the other movies. And it's, I don't even know I can't explain the plot. I don't know where to begin. But, like, it's very, very, like, I think of it as almost, like, quiet. It just seems so vastly different from the other installments, and I love it. It's brilliant. Like, they take their time with it. They really take the time to, like, take you through this story piece by piece and spend time with these characters. It's devastating, it's beautiful, it's incredibly well shot. And then they have the second one, which is almost all action and is like the Battle of Hogwarts. It's the end of the series, and I mean, if you're a Harry Potter fan, I don't know if this let anybody down. I'm sure it did, but, like, I went to the premiere with my friend at the Ziegfeld Theater, and we just were stunned beyond reason, and I absolutely think that I have a lot of critiques about all the movies, but the last like the Deathly Hallows, I really don't have that many critiques at all. Like, I just think it was brilliant, and they did so much justice. They really, really did. And I'm so happy that something that meant so much to so many people ended in such a great way.
Wunderbar.
Yeah.
My next film is at 28 is Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Nice.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah, it's a great movie. That's probably my favorite of his movies.
Yeah, no, it was just a great horror film. Fun, disturbing. Makes you not want to eat spaghetti. Colin Farrell, just great. Yeah, very Eyes Wide Shutty.
Nicole Kidman literally has been fucking killing it. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, she's one of the greatest actresses of all time.
Like, what? She does everything. Like, does she ever stop?
Like, she's a different generation than Meryl Streep, but, like, I feel like she is probably the greatest actress of all time. Nicole Kidman. In a lot of ways. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to look back, because, like, look at the pace she's acting in films right now.
It's weird that she has,
she's never going to slow down, and she's kind of outpacing Meryl Streep now. Like, Meryl Streep is going to eventually be gone, and, like, we're going to be sad. And she's going to be passing her. Yeah, no, I'm just, like, it's just, like, wild. Like, they're both great, and they work together.
Yeah.
But, like, I think she is, like, an icon. Like, she's just been in so many things.
They are
and, like, a lot of, like, really psychological things that have, like, defined humanity.
They are so awesome together in Big Little Lies, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, okay.
Cool, we can move on.
Alright.
Disturbing film, watch it.
Yeah. I have another disturbing film, my number 28, Shutter Island.
Not on my list.
Marty.
Go off.
Oh my god, I don't even know. It's so I also had a lot of anticipation on this movie because when I was young, I mean I'm still young, but when I was young, I worked on my first ever paid job was with none other than Marty Scorsese. And his crew had just come from doing this movie and they were all miserable and they all talked about it endlessly, like how it was the worst shoot ever, and they, you know, it like they literally, like, some people wouldn't even talk about it. Like, they all had like Shutter Island like zip ups and hats on, but they like wouldn't even talk. Like, someone would bring it up and they would like shudder and like start crying. It was like very funny. So I was like I was like, oh my god, what the fuck happened during this movie? And basically they were just acting like that because of like the remote location and like the weather and shit like that was like very rough on the crew. And yeah, like this movie it's like a haunted house movie almost, but it's about an asylum. It's one of those like what is reality movies. It's incredibly haunting, like deeply, deeply, deeply haunting. The dream sequences in it, holy shit. Like some of the best dream sequences since The Sopranos. And like the scenes with all the burning, where Leo is holding Michelle Williams and she disappears, like all that kind of shit. Oh my god, was that just so brilliantly executed. I love Mark Ruffalo as like the 50s detective. It's everything. Leo, obviously, like what else can you say about him? He's like my favorite person in history, so I don't know what else to say about that. And this movie's like very sprawling. Like it encompasses this whole world of this like creepy island with this asylum on it, and it's just so believable. And like I love the cave scene with Patricia Clarkson and Leo DiCaprio. She's brilliant in everything as well. Emily Mortimer, great. This is another movie where like the color palette for me is just everything. And I don't know what else to say. What do you think about Shutter Island?
I haven't seen it.
Holy motherfucking hell, Jordan.
Is it in the book? If it's not in the book, I'm not watching it.
It's probably not in the book, but
it might be.
Oh my
Let's
god.
see.
I just like
Folks, do you think it's in the book? Respond on Twitter.
I can't cope with you at the moment.
Why? Because I'm just a slave to the book.
Oh my gosh.
There's so many films I have to see. It's not in the book, sorry. Sorry, Marty.
That's
I'm not
okay.
watching your dumb film.
Oh my god.
I'm joking.
Rude.
I'm gonna watch it, Marty. I joke with you.
It's beautiful. It's like it's beautiful in a scary way.
The thing is, like, Martin Scorsese, like, knows he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
Yeah.
And, like, when people look at American film, they look at him, like, the same way we look at foreign films, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, the foreign directors that people who go to film school know about.
I just look at him as an angel that was given to us by Jesus.
Yeah, but he's just far and ahead, like the most complete filmmaker that we've had
I love
for
it.
generations. Yeah.
So then don't call his movie stupid or
I
dumb
know,
or
but
whatever
that's
you
why it's
said.
funny that I make the joke, because like obviously Martin Scorsese is one of the greatest.
Yeah.
You know,
Alright.
and I do respect him, and although we'll get to talking a little bit later about
Alright.
a topic when
I'm
it comes
sure
up
he'll
in
come
our
up again.
yeah. My 27 was 8th grade,
Nice.
which like Bo Burnham definitely defined this decade in a lot of ways.
It's a modern classic.
And
Absolutely.
this film definitely is Bo Burnham's impact on the world, I think, in a lot of ways. And, like, what he means to, like, art and, like, what the internet has done to art and, like, how we kind of have become obsessed with our self-image and, like, putting ourselves out there into the world because of him. You know, like, he was one of the first people who was like, hey guys, look at me, I'm like playing piano in my room, come check it out. And like now everybody does that, like literally everybody is on YouTube playing piano in their room, or on Instagram playing piano, or doing stupid stuff. And like he started that, and this is kind of the world that he created, oddly enough. Is like now people are obsessed with Instagram and their phones because of Bo Burnham. And he did have a very, like, loving look at, like, childhood and, like, the traumas of growing up. And it was just beautiful.
I'll actually never forget the first time I saw him. I thought, first of all, I thought he was, like, so attractive. Like, I was like, oh my god. But his comedy was so, like, it was so different. It was so what we needed at the time. And, like, just knowing, I think he's, like, very close to our age. So, like... also just like seeing someone who was like our age just like putting himself out, just like basically like making himself famous, like you're saying, you know, it was just so cool. He really is groundbreaking, and the movie's amazing.
Yeah, I think like he gets very lost in the shuffle of like this world of influencers, because like he was actually talented, and a lot of these influencers are not talented. Like they're just personalities, they're just being reality TV, like outside, like these crazy personas, but like he was literally just writing these insane songs and doing this. Like, imagine if SoundCloud was popular when he was starting. Like, he might have had a totally different career where he would have dropped like 4 albums on SoundCloud, maybe. And we'd be talking about Bo Burnham differently, but instead we're like, oh, he was like basically the YouTuber who ruined YouTube. Because once he was exploited, there was no more like free thought on YouTube. You just had to pay to get your stuff promoted, or else it was going to get lost in the shuffle.
Have you heard his interview with the Hollywood Reporter, a Words Chatter podcast?
No, I don't think I have.
You should listen to that, because he's basically like everything you're explaining. He tells the whole story from the beginning of like in his words, like what happened, and it's really interesting.
Word, I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
What's your 27 club?
Her.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
you could go off.
I'm just gonna read this quote that I saved from her. Dear Catherine, I've been sitting here thinking about all the things I wanted to apologize to you for. All the pain we caused each other, everything I put on you, everything I needed you to be or needed you to say. I'm sorry for that. I'll always love you because we grew up together and you helped make me who I am. I just wanted you to know there will be a piece of you in me always, and I'm grateful for that. Whatever someone you become, and wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you love. You're my friend to the end. Love, Theodore. That's all I have to say.
That's it? That's all you have to say about the film?
Yes, I feel that says it all.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely, like, have some kind of emotional attachment to my phone, and definitely feel chiller because of my phone.
Yeah.
And, like, besides the beauty of, like, this weird romance, which is really what the film is, as you're pointing out, and, like, an odd love story.
But romance is romance, you know?
Yeah, no. It's real, though. Like, is there something wrong with loving your phone?
No.
I don't think so. If it doesn't hurt anybody else.
That's my motto of life. Like, just don't hurt anybody else, and I don't care what the fuck you do at all.
Same as Lars and the Real Girl is going to normalize sex dolls.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie. Not in this decade though, so we can't talk about it.
Right.
It defined this decade, but we can't talk about it yet.
Yeah.
We can't do that until we're in 2025 talking about the best films of the millennium so far.
25 years.
Yeah.
That'll be a tough one.
Very. So we're on to 26.
You betcha.
Black Swan.
Wait. Oh, that's my 25.
Cool. Sweet. What's your 26?
Boyhood.
I did not have Boyhood in the end, so you can talk about Boyhood.
Lord.
How funny. Would you have thought that I wouldn't have had Boyhood and you would?
I don't know. I mean, I loved it.
I thought you were a Boyhood hater. Maybe I'm
What
thinking
the
of
fuck?
somebody
That's
else.
Brendan.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Brendan hates it.
Also, Rena hates Boyhood too.
Oh my god, well they can go watch another movie together and we'll watch Boyhood. So yeah, I love this movie. I love basically all Richard Linklater movies. He has such a wide range of talent. It's so like all the different things he can do. But this movie obviously was incredibly ambitious, and I just love that anyone had the balls to do this concept of filming someone literally growing up over a period of years rather than casting 3 or 4 different people to play this boy throughout different periods of his life. Some of the storytelling is a little bit basic. I think like it did have to suffer a little bit because of the concept. But I think that like as much as there is some like basic stuff in it, there's also some like incredible truths about family, and I think like the tension in the household, especially with like the stepfather. Like I've never had that scenario happen, but I felt like I did when I watched it. And Ethan Hawke is one of my favorite people, always brilliant. Patricia Arquette won the Oscar, obviously, and like I just think that she is one of the greatest actresses of our generation, and I was so happy to, well, I guess not our generation, she's older than me, but I was really happy that she got recognized for this finally, because I just always feel like she's a genius. And yeah, it's so amazing to me that no one else had really done this before. Or maybe, I feel like someone had done something similar, but I can't remember right now.
The craziest feat of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Just like ask somebody who's tried to do any videos.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I am kind of ending, I think I'm done with my assessment of Boyhood. It's so good. How can you not like it? I just wish Brendan or Brina were here right now so we could hear this like ridiculous nonsense that would come out of their mouths.
Well, like I don't think a lot of people respect the feat of filmmaking, which is like literally showing people at different times in their lives, which like is not done. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wonder how many filmmakers have projects going like that right now, like you were saying.
Yeah, because it's like a lot of the time when a new concept becomes very popular, suddenly you see tons of shit that's the same pop up, but like obviously it would take like 12 years for another movie like this to pop up because you would have to film it over that period of time. So yeah. A genius, in my opinion.
Now I'm on to 25, and we're going to go back to my 26 because my 25 is Florida Project.
Oh,
The Florida Project.
Black Swan is on 25.
I know, so now we're talking about Black Swan as predicted.
It's a very, 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 very well-crafted descent into madness. And I could so easily see how this could happen too, because I'm an actress, not the same as being a ballerina, but like there's, maybe even more rejection when it comes to being a ballerina, because like there's not really different types of ballerinas, like whereas there's many different types of actors, especially now, like you're seeing more and more like diversity and like body diversity too and stuff like that, but like there's so many different types of movies you could do or theater plays you could do and things like that, but you have to be a certain specific thing to be a ballerina, and there are so many things that can go wrong. And one of my best friends growing up was had her heart set on being like a prima ballerina, like in ABT, and she ended up even going to school at an arts, like a ballet school for it, but she ended up quitting because it was so hard on her body. And like she was one of those people too when we were growing up, like she was so strict, like even as a child, like we were like 10 and she was like, I was like, oh, come over, and she's like, I can't, I have dance, and I'm like, oh, come over after, and she's like, no, like as soon as I leave like school basically. My mom's driving me from school to the dance school, and then like I'm gonna be dancing all night, and then I have to come home and do my homework and go to sleep. Basically, like that was her whole life, and I could so easily see how this movie could happen. Like even though there's obviously many fantastical elements of it, like it does not at all seem far-fetched to me at all that this could happen to somebody. And also, it was the return.
This is just being an artist in the aughts. Like, you literally can never do enough.
Right. Yeah. And, Winona Ryder hadn't had, like, a big part. Like, I mean, it's a small part, but, like, it's influential. She says the word cock, which was very important. And, even if that was the only thing this movie had accomplished, is, like, putting Winona Ryder in an important role, it would still be basically the most important movie of all time. So, I absolutely think it's one of the best movies of the decade by far.
Well, we could just move on.
What? You don't have anything? Was that exactly what you were gonna say?
I just think it's just beautiful stylistically and disturbing and just the best portrayal of an artist in a lot of ways and just like what it is being an artist in this decade. Like I don't think anybody has gotten it better that like you're really never gonna be enough because there's always somebody who's been training just as hard as you, just as long as you, and like is willing to go further, it has some other advantage over you, and like it is so saturated to be an artist right now just because of the internet. Like everybody has access to all of the same information, and it's like if you want to be an artist you can, and like you just have to research it and go find it, and because of that there are just so many of everything. And also just like this age of like helicopter parents and like overscheduling kids and stuff like that, and like pushing your kids further and further down their passion, like that's just huge in our society right now, and probably one of the reasons why everybody I know has anxiety and everybody I know has depression and shit like that. It's just like, damn, is it really worth it to be pushed to be the best when like there isn't even going to be a fair best? You know, like when it comes down to it, it's just random. And like a lot comes down to chance.
Well, can we talk about the ending?
Sure.
Spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, then like I'm not waiting for your like lame ass. I don't care. So yeah, she dies and she feels after her performance, she said I was perfect and she dies. I mean, honestly, like goals, because like if you died in the very moment that you felt that you literally were perfect at your craft, that you had worked your whole life and sacrificed everything, including your mental health for, like that's not a bad way to die. I would love that. So
similar to an Adam Sandler film that we're going to be talking about.
I was going to say that, but see, that just came out, so it's fine. Like
we're not going to name the Adam Sandler film. We're just going to say like an offhanded comment. If you know, you know. If you don't, then we're just
murder mystery. Yeah.
All right. Well, good segue onto my 24. Okay. Good time.
Oh, mine's higher.
Sweet. So we don't even need to talk about it. Let's move on to your 24.
Social Network.
Cool.
I mean, what is there to say? This is definitely...
Just defined a generation of hateful white men.
It's one of the best movies probably ever. It's so good. It's really compellingly tells the story of what happened in it's over dramatized in the most perfect way. I love the music. I love the filmography. Oh my god. The cinematography. And I think that Andrew Garfield and Jesse Eisenberg together are one of the best on-screen pairings. The casting is so perfect. The chemistry between them. The scene, obviously, if you've seen this movie, you know what fucking scene I'm about to mention. Their fight when, he's saying, I'm gonna come back and get you for everything. Obviously, it's, one of the best things ever committed to film, so... Do yourself a favor, turn that movie on.
Yeah, just in a lot of ways. It's also been the defining movie of the decade because Facebook has so much fucking money and so much fucking power. They literally are the reason that Donald Trump is president right now because they weren't able to filter through ads that were giving false information.
Yeah.
And now we're stuck with this crazy maniac in the White House just having disregard for all other nations in this world. And it's all because of Facebook. It's all because a guy wanted to rate women at his college.
Oh my god. It's such a fascinating story, too. You can't...
That's why I think it's hilarious whenever Mark Zuckerberg has to go in front of Congress and defend Facebook. Like, fuck you. I hope you get grilled.
Yeah. You just can't imagine this happening, and yet it did.
Yeah. It just got so big. And, like, he definitely just had the right Harvard goons, like, behind him to back up his projects. And, like, he had the right funders at the right time. And, like, now we have this monster that, like, literally should be controlled by the government because it's too big and controls too much of the information.
I recently deleted Facebook from my phone, and now I only go on it if I'm on my computer. Like, I have to keep it because of my business. But, and honestly, like, I like it because I like that there's so many people in the world, in my life from my past, that, like, realistically, if social media wasn't a thing, like, I wouldn't be calling these people to keep in touch. I wouldn't be sending them letters or even emailing or whatever, but, like, I can kind of keep up with their lives and they can keep up with mine. I do like that. But I just don't want to have it on my phone. I don't want to have it at my fingertips every minute, you know?
Yeah, no, I really want to delete Facebook. It makes me super depressed constantly. And if I wasn't doing comedy, I would probably delete Facebook. It just sucks that, like, the only way to find out about shows and gigs and mics and shit like that is on Facebook. Like, I guess you could look at Instagram, but, like, Instagram's algorithm sucks, so, like, you're gonna miss stuff.
And Instagram's more about visuals, too. Like, you know, Facebook is like anything. Like you can post, like, I try to post, I mean, you can post anything on Instagram, too, but, like, I try to post stuff on my Instagram that's more, like, visually appealing, because that's, like, the whole thing with Instagram. Whereas, like, Facebook, like, anyone, you can post any stupid shit on Facebook, you know? That's why it's, like, such a waste of time a lot of the time.
All right. So let's move on to 23. My 23 was Roma.
Mine is Moonlight.
Well, my Moonlight is way higher.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about Roma right now. Do you not have Roma on your list?
It's not on my list.
Cool, yeah. No, I just thought, like, Alfonso Cuarón, like, I'll give him credit for being the master filmmaker that he is. Like, this is definitely his best film. And it shows his hometown in, like, a beautiful way. I think some of the class issues of the film are a little patting Hollywood on the back-y. And, like, especially after watching Parasite, like, I do not look at this film in the same way. And we'll be talking about Parasite later. But no, Roma's, like, very classic. It's just the most beautiful film that we've been graced with in a lot of ways. Like, Moonlight is also one of the most beautiful films, though, so I shouldn't give Alfonso Cuarón with his, like, pandering film this credit. But no, it's beautiful, and I think, like, minus, like, the class stuff in it, I think it's dope as hell, and, like, a very, like, cinematic film. Like, I just can't get, like, the naked sword bit out of my head.
Yeah.
Like, that is just, like, when you see that scene, you're just like, okay, I'm in for a Netflix ride right now. That's what I signed up for. And
Yeah,
just,
you're
like, seeing
like-
the field of extras.
You're just, like,
that you
not
get.
expecting that. You're like, wait, this is a different movie than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should say that any list that I make with movies, it's not, unless I literally, I guess, specified that it was, it's not like a technical, I'm not, like, listing them based on technical merit. It's my personal favorite and the stuff that speaks the most to me. So, like, just because Roma's on my list, like, obviously I do think it is, like, one of the best movies of the past 10 years. It's just hard when you can only pick 40 or, in my case, 41. I mean, like, I think we did a whole episode on it, so I should just shut up. Listen to our episode featuring Brendan O'Brien if you want to hear more about my in-depth thoughts.
Cool. So what's your 23?
Moonlight. So we'll talk about it later.
We'll move on to 22.
22.
What's your 22?
My 22 is Birdman.
Not on my list.
Oh, shit.
Cool.
So I'm in the movie Birdman, and
I like how that's how you started. I
I just want everyone to know that I worked on a Best Picture winner, and no one can take that away from me. So no matter what happens in my life, at least I was there. You know, we had no idea. It was just another job for me. I mean, I was excited because I saw the cast and everything, so I was, like, excited that I was working on a film with those people. But yeah, I was in the audience. I was a featured extra. and worked on it for quite a long time because there were a lot of audience scenes. Obviously, there's a lot of like they filmed the play, so like there's a lot of those parts. I was sitting up in the box. Can't really like see me that well. It's kind of blurry because obviously like the focus is on what's going on stage. But it was amazing to be there and to see the way that they filmed it. Obviously, like, you know, the long takes. To see that in person was like very crazy, and to see how Inarritu, just like his energy was so different from any other director that I've ever been on set with. And just watching him do all that, like the scene where, you know, like Naomi Watts and Ed Norton are backstage, like in the bed, and, you know, like seeing all that, seeing him shoot all that, like just being able to view him like moving, like he would like be on the side of the camera and like seeing him like move and like direct everything. And like he like talks a lot like during the directing, like I guess they edit his voice out, like I don't really know, but like seeing all of that happen, like I hadn't really seen anything be filmed like that before. Like it was very, very unique and genius, and I was like so curious to see what the movie was going to end up being like, because when you're there and you're seeing, like, I mean, obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you know how long it takes to film like one scene in a movie. It takes days to film one scene, so like we were there for days and days on end, and I saw these scenes get shot over and over and over, and I saw him like running around the stage and like from backstage to on stage, and like there would be some times where, like, you know, it was long takes, so like the scene would start backstage and like we couldn't see anything, and then like all like we would just be sitting there while they were filming in a different like area, and then, you know, we would be cued to like react, and then like, you know, Naomi Watts would come like running out, and then like the scene in front of us would be, and but it was the continuation of like a very long take. So I mean it's just, to me, like it's just Inarritu is amazing in general. Obviously like he's one of the greats these days, and I just love the unique nature of it. I love the performances, and I love the line that Ed Norton says. I can't remember the exact wording of it right now, but he says like he's talking about like how nothing, like when he's on stage there's nothing wrong, like nothing bothers him on stage, like it's just like a show business movie, and like I've been that way my whole life. Like I don't know why, I don't have family in show business, nothing. Like I just, since birth, I've been like, I want to be on stage, I want to be on camera, I want to be performing, I want to be in front of people, and that's it. That's it, period. Like I don't care about other things. I mean I do, but you know what I mean, like not for my personal like career or life. So I just find it relatable, and I love all the performances. This was kind of like a Michael Keaton comeback, and he was unreal. Emma Stone is great in it. Everyone's great in it.
Zach Galifianakis, baby.
You know what? He was like a big part of the like I don't even know if I remember seeing him, but he was like, people were kind of saying like, oh, this is a Zach Galifianakis / Emma Stone comedy that's also kind of like a drama. Like I didn't really like realize what it actually was going to be. I feel like because at the time those two, like when this movie was in production, like those two were like very, very big comedy stars. Like you have to remember that like Zach became famous from The Hangover, and like Emma Stone at that time like had not done barely any dramas. I think The Help like had maybe just come out, or like whatever. Like she wasn't known as being what she's known for now at all. She was like a comedic actress, and he was a comedic actor, so like people were kind of like focused on them, and this movie is totally not about them.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you know, I mean it was
just the marketing.
It's a bit, yeah, and like just the visually, I mean everything. It's an iconic movie, and I'm so I feel insanely grateful, because it was literally just a job I took. I was like, whatever, I need a job, I need money, and it ended up being the best picture, and it was one of the best experiences of my career. So yeah, you never know.
Yeah, no, my friend who he was the guy who had the plate of hors d'oeuvres in Green Book. He probably had no idea that was going to be that good. He was probably just like, oh, another random film being shot down here. Like, I wonder what's going to happen with it. And then Kermit Burns, now he has a line in Green Book. And he was in something else that I saw. He was in Wounds, I think.
Good for him.
All right. Shall I go on to my 22nd?
Yes, please.
Ex Machina.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, so this is the precursor to Annihilation for Alex Garland.
It's kind of Westworld-y in a lot of ways now that I'm watching it. And I think everybody should just watch it if you're into sci-fi. I don't want to like dig too deep into it. It's a great Alicia Vikander film. Shout out Rena. That's her favorite actress.
Oh yeah, Rena's obsessed with her. I love it.
Yeah, and I just think everybody should watch it, especially as we're probably going into the next decade, which is going to be more influenced by robot technology, I think, and artificial intelligence. This is like the artificial intelligence film of the decade, I think, and everybody should watch it.
I cannot comment, but it's one of those that's been on my list basically since it came out. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Also, great cinematography. Honestly, like, if you like Annihilation, you're gonna love this because it's just so much better. Like, I feel like Annihilation was missing something compared to this film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like that good. That's why it's on the best of the decade list.
Oh. You guys, you can't see, but Jordan just shimmied, so I just feel like that should be noted. Yeah. Okay, so my 21 is Drive.
Same.
No way!
How funny.
Oh my god. Wow.
Just defining masculinity and coolness and style for the decade.
Well, I also, you're 100% right, but I also just love movies that kind of like examine like a certain person's job or something that like you don't really think about that much. I mean, I guess I think about stunt performers a lot because like I'm in show business, but like most people like don't give much thought to that kind of job. You know what I mean? And like to see the story of someone who has that gig. Obviously, there's so much more to the movie. It's not like it's like here's what it's like to be a stunt performer, but like taking a profession and then turning it into, you know, a basis for this kind of story. So fascinating. Like the music too, like this was like this era of my life was like very influenced by like the soundtrack, like Night Call, like
also like that was have I told you the story or have we talked about this film on here?
I don't know.
Just like Ryan Gosling and Nicholas Winding Refn were like talking about the film and like driving around the streets of LA, and then that pop song came on and they were like, this is the film.
Oh.
And it's just like all about that pop music and like driving around and like being alone and like
yeah,
just escaping by looking at the lights and listening to like glam pop and just being like, yeah, like whoa.
That's like so much of my like when I first got my car, like that's what I did all the time. Like I would just blast music and I would drive around. Like I would just stop at like random gas stations and get like, you know, a bag of chips, and then I would like drive for another hour and like just like listen to music and just like be alone and like think. And that this is a very quiet movie. Like it's a lot of thinking. Also, not to forget. What's her name? How am I forgetting her name?
Carey Mulligan?
Yes. She's great. Like, first of all, she's like very, she's so prolific this decade. But she's so good in the movie. Like, she says so much with just her eyes.
Well, we're also starting to get into the Oscar Isaac dominance of the decade.
I love him.
He had some of the biggest classics, and this was his weirdest racial movie, I think. He played Hispanic.
He did. Oh, yeah.
We'll get into his Jewish role later. His Jewish folk singer role.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we will get into it later. In fact, we will. Yeah. I also love the poster for Drive, and I love all the imagery, like the bright pink.
It was just so stylistic, and like I thought Nicholas Winding Refn was going to just go into a decade of just amazing films, and unfortunately we didn't really get that.
I still haven't watched Neon Demon, did you?
It kind of had, like, now that I've watched Black Swan, it kind of feels like a worse Black Swan.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Gotcha.
It's very stylistic, and it's cool, and it talks a lot about models, and maybe that's why the industry hates it, because it's basically saying that, like, the industry just abuses models and forces them to be crazy.
That's true.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it's not a popular film.
Alright, guys. We're cracking the top 20.
What is your 20?
Good time.
Sweet. Let's talk about it.
It's just like one of the fucking best movies ever. It's so amazing. It's like It's like Uncut Gems' brother, you know, like it's an all night New York masterpiece about these two brothers. I love the brotherly bond. It's so good. Rob Pattinson is phenomenal. I talked about this movie, right?
Yeah, the disabled brother was supposed to be in Uncut Gems, though. He was a character from that script.
What?
Yeah, did you know that?
Oh my god.
I've been hearing them in interviews, and that's what they were saying, is that character was supposed to be, like, Howard's, like, sidekick, kind of. And then he got cut out of the script after some edits because they made good time, and they were like, we don't need him to come back into this.
No, it would be so great if it was like a Kevin Smith thing where they had the characters from the same, like it's all one world. Ah! I mean, I still consider it to be like one world anyway. Jennifer Jason Leigh also, great. Just everything. Like the whole theme park scene.
Oh my god! And when
Yeah.
he gives him the acid, oh Jesus!
The awkwardness of like that teenage girl in the house, and Rob Pattinson for me really popped in this movie. Like I actually, not to be one of those people that's like I knew him before, but like before Twilight, he was in Harry Potter. Not that you know anything about that.
I do. Cedric Diggory dies.
What? Oh my god.
I have watched enough to know that much.
Yeah. I love like. But I actually went, me and my friends as babies went to the premiere of that movie. We didn't get in, but we were outside and we like saw him and, you know, screamed and, so I've like loved him since then, and I always thought he was great, but like, this was a whole other level of his acting, and it really like, to me.
Somebody once name dropped Robert Pattinson to try to Me Too me.
Why?
Just like this wardrobe guy in a film that I was working on, he was like, I worked with Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, and it's like,
congratulations.
yeah, he was just like trying to very much like bring me into his hotel room, and I was like, nah.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. That is gross.
Yeah, it's fine. I was only 17, and it didn't end up bad, so I guess it's fine.
You didn't go up there.
Yeah, no. Well, I had to go up to his hotel room because I was helping him with the wardrobe, but I didn't go into his hotel room, so to speak. I stood out in the doorway, even though he wanted me to come into his hotel room. He's 100% a dude who was involved with, like, Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey and shit. Like, he's definitely, like, was just gay in Hollywood and, like, in that pedophilic ring where they were preying on, like, boys who were just breaking into the industry. In that kind of, like, weird cross-section between, like, Jeffrey Epstein and Man Boy Love and Bryan Singer and Dan Schneider making all of the entertainment for children but being a pedophile at the same time.
So that kind of like made me sad.
Sorry to make you sad.
No, it's
Do you have
okay.
Honey Boy on your list?
Talk about it as much as you need to.
Oh no.
No, I don't have Honey Boy on my list, even though I love Honey Boy.
I also do not have it on my list. It's on my 2019 list.
But yeah, Good Time is another one of those movies that like it just keeps your attention so well. Like you're gripped the whole time, and I couldn't wait 1 minute to the next to see what was gonna happen. And it's a really like a ride. It's like a roller coaster, but not in a negative way. Not like how Marty was talking about Marvel movies. It's like a good ride. And I think it's like a must. It's one of those movies that I really recommend to everyone. Like when people are asking me, which happens all the time, people ask me like what movies I should watch, and it's just, it comes right to my mind every time.
Beautiful film.
Yes. We're on 19. What's
No,
yours?
my 20th.
Oh, 20th.
Weird pick, probably. I don't know. Josephine Decker's Madeline's Madeline.
Oh, I wasn't a fan.
You were not a fan?
No.
I just thought it was a very interesting way of doing a movie, and I think as somebody who's been like tied to theater and tied to the art and like mentors and like parents who may not understand your art and like understand the process and just kind of navigating being a young artist and like how do you have your privacy as a young artist, which I thought was a very cool thing that this film touched on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't really have to talk about it too much more if you weren't a fan of it.
No, it's okay. I like hearing, like, I like when I'm hearing from someone that loves something that I just didn't, like, connect with, because I feel like that's what movies are about, and I'm happy that you felt that way about it. Like, just because I didn't, it's, you know.
It's just, like, one of those films where you're just, like, I totally, like, being around theater stuff, like, I know this person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, like, a very good portrayal of somebody who is definitely a prodigy and just, like, how you navigate being a prodigy when people are, like, telling you to do different things, and you don't really know who the right person is to listen to, and how everybody thinks they know what's best for you, but you think you have agency because you're an artist and you're thinking constantly, but everybody's like, no, you're a child, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just like how art brings you away from your family, kind of. I think that's also an interesting thing, because like a lot of art is based off of your family and friends and like stuff that happens to you, and like really disconnecting that from your actual life is very tough, and I think this film talks about that in a very interesting way. Just the cross section between the reality of your life and like disconnecting it from the art, and like finding your way as an artist, and kind of avoiding the scrutiny of like everybody who's constantly judging you and trying to break you down, because for some reason we're just trained as like Americans to just break everybody down and tell them how bad they are at everything.
You know what, like that makes me think about how like I'm fascinated by fame and celebrity, and I think part of the reason is because like we all have like our own narrative of our lives. Like I think I'm this certain way and I have this view of my life, and like when you become famous, there's like an entirely other narrative of your life that's crafted by the media. It's like what other people and news outlets choose to pick out about your life and focus on is what your life becomes in the perception of others. And then there's like this whole other part of your life that's like who you actually are. And it's like when you have to make art at the same time as you're being perceived as this other thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, talking about Rob Pattinson, I recently listened to him on something, I don't know, I listened to so many podcasts, and he was like, on NPR, they were asking him about, like, how he got made fun of, like, the whole situation with him and Kristen Stewart, like, she cheated on him publicly, and, he was, like, made fun of, they were made fun of, their relationship was made fun of, and, so I think it was, like, I don't remember who, but someone was saying, like, it was Donald Trump, was saying, like, if you go back to Kristen Stewart, you're an idiot, like, before he was a candidate or anything.
Yeah.
He was posting about it on Twitter, and Rob made a really interesting comment when asked, like, how did he feel about that, and he was like, so I just feel like that's a completely different person. Like when you talk about that Rob Pattinson, whose relationship is being commented on by Donald Trump, he's like, that's not me. That's like another person. And it's true. Like, it is another person. It's the persona of the celebrity Rob Pattinson. But, like, that's not who he actually is. But that also exists in the world. You know what I mean? It's, like, very weird.
Well, yeah, like, even listening to Robert Pattinson, like, he's a very, like, normal, down-to-earth person. And, like, he has very mature things to say about his relationship with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
He's like very publicly queer
and he didn't
dates
lash
women
out at
mostly
all.
now.
I mean, she really was like, I'm sorry, like I try not to judge at all, but like that was really shitty. Like she was out in public with that guy. I mean, if you're gonna steal someone's husband, you know, do it privately. I mean, like don't do it when you know you're gonna be photographed. Like, come on, man. But you know. That's a tough situation, and he never really clapped back at anyone. Like, he's just like a normal person, yet there's this whole other persona of him out
Well, it's
there.
like you see who the actual, like, legitimate artists are, like, through that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've finally gotten out of the age of the tabloids, which is good, because that was just a terrible era to live in, like, the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
This decade, I feel like, was kind of determined by, like, how artists wanted to be perceived in public, I think, more or less. Like, I don't think there were a lot of people who were abused in the 2010s as much as, like, the 2000s. Like, that was more taking people and running with it and, like, trying to get people in compromising positions.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're kind of in an age where, like, yeah, you can have a Lakeith Stanfield have his Instagram account and just be, like, posting funny shit to his Instagram account, and that's all he does, and, like, he's just out in the world, and it doesn't really matter what else he does.
I am stunned it took this long for you to bring up your boyfriend, Lakeith.
Well, I haven't gotten to any of his films yet.
Because they're so high on the list.
We're gonna take a quick break right now.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your capitalism, served best cold. And we're back.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited right now because we have so many great movies to talk about.
What is your number 19?
My number 19 is Prisoners.
Whoa, what?
Yep. Prisoners. I'm guessing this isn't on your list?
Nope.
Okay, so, holy shit. So this is the first Denis Villeneuve film that I saw. And I didn't know anything about him as a director. I didn't know much about the movie at all. I'm a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. And I just saw that it was, like, dark and weird. And I knew Paul Dano was also in it. So I was like, hell yeah, this is a movie for me. And it blew my fucking mind and blew me away. Like, I had no idea that I was going to love it so much. But it's far and away one of my favorites of the decade. Like, I love kidnapping movies, too. So, like, that's another thing. Like, I love cheesy-ass kidnapping movies. Like, even, like, Trapped with Kevin Bacon or the Mel Gibson one from the 90s, Ransom. Like, I love kidnap movies, but, like, this one, obviously it's Denis Villeneuve, so, like, you know that it's, like, very artful, and it's in a very specific style, and the performances are so good. Paul Dano plays this, like, oh my god, where do I even begin? He's suspected of kidnapping this girl.
I can't believe I'm about to have this movie that I'm so excited to see spoiled right now.
No, this is just, like, in the trailer.
Okay, cool.
He's, like, accused of kidnapping this girl, and Hugh Jackman, the father of the girl, like, keeps him, like, is, like, keeping him. And, like, torturing him. And, like, Jake Gyllenhaal plays the detective, but he's not your average detective, folks. And it's also not cheesy in that way. Like, it's not like, oh, he's an old guy just about to retire, but then this one case comes up. It's not that. It's like he has like a partially shaved head. And I'm really not selling this movie well enough because like it's just too much for me to even say. But like
cool.
The tension in this movie is insane because like you don't know exactly what happened. You don't know is she dead, is she not dead, is she like what's gonna happen and who actually did it and what. And is this okay? Like the moral, if you know someone hurt, someone that you love, is it okay to hurt them? Viola Davis is in it, and Hugh Jackman gives a hell of a performance. Really, like the whole movie is so dark, so it's like not usually what I'm used to seeing him as, and the color palette in this one too is fucking awesome. Like it's so dark. It's like very gray, black, like, and it's such a rare type of movie. Like it's so gripping and thought-provoking and fascinating. I loved it.
I was just looking up Denis Villeneuve's net worth because he directs ridiculous films that have huge ass budgets.
Oh my goodness.
He's worth $16 million. That's pretty dope.
I don't know. Is that really true?
That's probably accurate.
I have no idea.
He directed Blade Runner, Sicario.
I know, but I don't know.
Polytechnique.
Like, I don't know. It's hard to estimate these things.
Truth. My number 19 is mid-90s, which I've talked extensively about on this podcast. Love it. Connected with it a lot. I don't need to really talk about it too much. I just think it was a beautiful film. Very stylistic. I like the skateboarding aspects. Really connected with me with the soundtrack. Jonah Hill. I hope you make a lot more films. I think it's going to just be a classic that I look back and I'm like, oh, mid-90s is on TV or something. Or like, oh, I just need something to put on in the background.
Oh.
Or like showing my son one day like mid-90s and being like, oh, look at this film. Like this is when I grew up, like in the 90s.
That's like very sweet that you are thinking about showing it to your son already and you're not even like pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 18 is The Way, Way Back.
Not on my list. Go off.
Directed by Jim Rash and Nat Faxon. Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
This movie actually like had a very profound effect on me. It came out in 2013, which is when I like turned my life around. I had like a very hard time. Like in my teen years, I was very depressed and like I really struggled with it. And like basically a lot of things that happened in the summer of 2013 like is what helped me turn my life around. Most of it was like spirituality and like working on myself and like acting and things like that, but like there were a few movies that I saw around that time, and I feel like when you're transitioning in your life, no matter what kind of transition it is, like the art that you consume during that time really becomes like a big part of your story. And this movie to me was like so perfect It's about this teenager who kind of feels like a stranger in his own house. His mom is played by Toni Collette. His not stepdad, but like his mom's boyfriend is played by Steve Carell, and he's this asshole. But the mom doesn't see that. You know, she's just, I guess, in love with him and lonely, and you know, just focuses on the good elements of him. Allison Janney gives me literal life, like powers me as a human being in this movie. She plays this hilarious, like over the top character, and she nails it like better than, and I mean it's better than her I, Tonya performance. Like just trust me, it's amazing. And they go to like the boyfriend's beach house for the summer, and this teenage boy, it's like a very big coming of age movie. He can't stand the boyfriend, and he just is in this weird place in his life, and he ends up just like escaping and like taking like his bike to a water park nearby, and meets this whole like all these new people, including Sam Rockwell, who gives such an amazing performance. Maya Rudolph also works there. The two of them together are so amazing. They play co-workers, and who maybe have a connection that could be romantic someday in the right circumstance at the right time. If they could figure it out, it would be, but maybe it's not right now, or maybe it is, you don't know. And he starts working at this water park and finds his tribe, and it's like so beautiful, because I think that happens to a lot of people. Like you can love your mom or your dad or your family or whatever, but like sometimes you don't connect with them as much as like you wish you did, and you don't even like really know what true connection is, and then you like meet people that you connect with automatically, and you're like, oh shit, like this is where I belong. I think like finding where you belong is such a powerful thing, and it's a beautiful movie, so I highly recommend it to literally anyone. It's such a good movie.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to get into Sean Baker a little bit, unless you have this on your list. Do you have this as your 18 as well?
It's my 17.
Oh, nice. So we'll wait. What is your 18?
The Way, Way Back.
Oh, cool. So it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tangerine, which will forever be known as the iPhone film, I guess, is just so beautiful. It's a story that's not often told. It's just very raw and beautiful and just funny, and I love the dubstep like techno soundtrack that like really defines like a different time than we are in now almost. Like the film already feels very aged, even though it was just like so in the moment when it came out.
Yep. I talked about this on a podcast with, I remember Brendan was there because he watched the movie like the next day after we had recommended it. Yeah. So I won't even, but like everyone, if you've listened to this before, you know that Sean Baker is like, I love him more than, you know, water. So,
also it's like one of the first movies that has a trans star, and it's not about them being trans.
Right.
With the Kiki Rodriguez and Maya Taylor.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah. What's your... Oh, I have to do my 17 now.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go with Inherent Vice.
Nice. Not on my list, but a great film.
I don't know. It's just like a weird film about a weird time in LA. Mm-hmm. And I just enjoy the film. And if you haven't seen it, it's just like a good watch, as all Paul Thomas Anderson films are.
He's a no-brainer, and Magnolia's on Netflix now.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah, so just watch Inherent Vice. It's really weird. It's probably the closest thing to like a Lebowski movie that we have right now.
Oh, yeah, good point.
It's just like Joaquin Phoenix bouncing around LA, which like who doesn't want that?
Everyone wants that.
And I think we can move on from there. It's just beautiful, and like Paul Thomas Anderson knows LA, and he doesn't do any LA films in the rest of the decade, so watch this one.
It's almost like being in a trance, this movie.
Yeah.
Alright.
What's your 16?
My 16 is Columbus.
Word, I still haven't seen it.
Directed by Kogo Nada.
Word.
This movie really, again, like very deeply affected me. As I'm probably gonna say that obviously every movie, like if we're doing now, we're in the top 20 of like the past decade, obviously all these movies deeply affected me, so I'll stop saying that. It's like, this is another quiet movie, very quiet movie, and very, like, the design, like, there's a lot focus on design in general. Interior design, like, set design, the visuals in this movie are different, and the oh my god, I can't think of the term. It's a technical term, a film term. The shots, that's not what I was trying to think of, but like every shot in the movie you could tell.
Mise en scène?
No, not mise en scène. But every shot in the movie, like if you freeze frame it, is like something you would see in MoMA. And if you just actually like Google the movie or like type the movie's title into like Tumblr or something, like you'll see what I mean automatically. This is the film that made me fall in love with Haley Lee Richardson.
Where she's been great this decade.
Oh my god, she literally, like, I think I have a crush on her. Like, she's just so talented and beautiful, and like she played a completely different role from this in Support the Girls. Like in Support the Girls, she's like very she's like this kind of like loud, like fun young girl who like works at this like Hooters kind of bar and like, just embraces it, and like she might have some sadness in her life, but girl, she's gonna get out and deliver those beers and wings like no one's business. And then in Columbus, she's like this very subdued, calm, relaxed human being who's very thoughtful. And they pair her up in this movie with John Cho, who gives an amazing dramatic performance. I think everyone knows him, obviously, from Harold and Kumar, and this is, like, the complete opposite of that. Parker Posey, who literally has been one of my favorite people on the planet since, I don't know, birth, is also, she gives a very dramatic, sad performance. And it's just such a beautiful movie, stylistically.
It's on Hulu, so check it out.
Yes, it's on Hulu, and the friendship between the two characters is really, like, it's so good. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, are they gonna get together, or maybe they won't, or what's the situation? You don't know, but like the way that they bond throughout the course of the movie, just a stunning film.
Cool.
Yeah.
My 16 is probably a controversial pick. I don't know if you like this film. Bless you.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna go with Inception.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how you could really talk about this decade without touching on Inception, because I feel like that is one of the most important concepts of like living in the digital age and like subliminal like advertising to us, and kind of how Americans' minds were kind of in like a weird metaphor of like these people who are going through each other's dreams, planting ideas in their heads so that they do what they want for them. And it becomes just like this wild thriller. I think this is the best Christopher Nolan film probably of the decade. Like maybe people would argue Dunkirk. I don't know. I'm a big fan of it, and I've seen the film a lot of times. Also, like, cinematically, it was just, like, a crazy film at the time with some of the stuff that they did with the CGI and just making some of the kind of supernatural things about being in a dream happen were just iconic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, iconic's a good word for it, because this is something that really permeated our culture. I mean, how many times do you hear someone say something, and then someone will be like, ooh, Inception.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and everyone knows what you're talking about without a doubt. So, yeah, I mean, I also, like, I enjoyed the movie. I'm not a huge fan, but in general, I'm not a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, so, like, no one is surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. What was your 15?
My 15 is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Not on my list. Go on.
What?
It should have been on my list, but like honestly, do we need to glorify this anymore?
I do. I mean,
I know.
It's Marty, so what am I gonna say?
You have talked about Wolf of Wall Street on here a lot. We've talked about our feelings.
have?
I think we've talked about our feelings on Wolf of Wall Street a lot. Maybe not. Go off though.
I don't remember. So this is one of the first movies that I wrote about in college, like when I was like a film student, and I was like, wow, I'm so cool. Like instead of like doing math, I get to like talk about my favorite movies, and I wrote a paper about it, and I got an A, and I was like very excited, because it was about the scene, obviously the iconic, perfect flawless scene where he takes too many lewds.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Oh my god.
Well, that's just like the best physical acting performance of all time, probably.
Oh my god. And you know what? You know who's underrated in that scene? Margot Robbie. Like, standing there with the big pregnant belly going like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, it's so good. But yeah, this film obviously, like, you know, huge comment by Martin Scorsese on the excess of the 80s and hedonism and all of that. I mean,
And just where we are now with this Wall Street buffoonery, just like running our society.
Yeah. I mean, I am so happy that this is like what he chose to make at this point. Like, he's just such a, I mean, Marty's like, he's such a genius. I obviously think like Leo gives like the powerhouse performance of, you know, the decade. I'm not saying he's the best performance of the decade, but like definitely up there. And this is another movie that's like 3 hours long and to me feels like maybe an hour. Like, every scene feels so vital. Like, there's no scene where you're like, oh, I didn't need this or whatever. It's like, no, every step of the way is so fascinating. And I love the way that Leo plays like the different levels of his success. Like, he starts off kind of like this like wide-eyed kid and how he moves through like all the different scenes and all the characters that only come in for a little bit of time, like, you know, McConaughey, and then like Spike Jonze, and then like the first wife who obviously dodged a massive bullet, and just the way that he moves through the movie is just so it's the most graceful performance, but at the same time like this just, you know, like, he's the kind of person where even though he's very fit, he kind of like barrels through the room with this like disgusting elegance. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but I just love the movie so much.
And his performance definitely defined a specific type of private school douchebag who gets a business major. Oh,
and also, can we talk Jonah Hill? Like, we didn't know that he could. We didn't know this. I mean, we saw Moneyball, but this was like a big combination of the comedy.
Was this pre-Django?
What? Was this pre-Django? Same year.
Same year. This was a very big year for Jonah Hill.
Dude.
Comedically playing side characters.
I mean, like, come on. I love his performance. It's so... Donnie is, like, one of the best characters. Him and Leo, especially in that lewd scene. But really in all the, like, everything. The whole sequence with the family member dying and then the boat, and they insist on, like, traveling even though there's a storm and all of that. And he's, like, you know, freaking out, like, to get the lewds. Like, oh, my God. It's just, like, the, you know, like, I know how some people didn't feel like they didn't like the ending because, like, you know, you see Jordan doing these, like, you know, these motivational speeches, and it's like, why should he get to, you know, avoid jail and get to be this motivational speaker who still makes good money when he, you know, stole money from people and all this stuff? And it's like, because that's what happens in our world, folks. And I like how it's just, like, very basic. It's just, like, here he is, like, you know, telling people to sell him a pen. Like, we're not gonna tiptoe around it. We're not gonna, I mean, it's fun seeing him lose all his money and all that shit, like, of course, but I just... Marty's the best. That's all I have to say.
My 15?
Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna go with 20th Century Women.
Oh, I love that. Nice.
Yeah, I just love this film. I love the Annette Bening performance.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, I think it talks in a very interesting way about just like femininity and masculinity in America, and just like how we push ourselves into gender roles, and like kind of the things that they force us into, and like how we don't even necessarily want to have these divisions, and like we're kind of forced into them, and then they affect us in ways.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really weird, long winding sentence, but I don't know. I just thought this film was a very interesting look at the past, and is a good lens to look at the future, kind of, because like all these characters, like the women still feel very relevant, but like the men do not feel relevant. And that's kind of the thing that we're learning in this decade, is that men aren't really good at anything.
Wow.
I feel like that was like the lesson of the decade, is that men kind of are very average and below average, and have kind of fucked up our country and our world.
Ouch. You heard it here, folks. Yeah, I mean, I love men. Not all of them, but in general, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna share my opinion because I'm mad at several men right now. I'm just like done. Anyway, I agree. It was a great film, and I do recommend it. And another great Greta Gerwig performance.
Yeah, that was like also iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use that word too much, but like
But
now
we're talking about the
we're
decade.
in the top 20,
Yeah.
so it's like everything is
Yeah.
iconic.
No, but like I think we'll look back and that film is like very underrated. I
Yeah.
think people will look back and be like, wow.
Same thing with Beginners. Oh, I forgot to put Beginners on the list.
Same.
Beginners is good,
Honorable
man.
mention.
Yep.
What's your 15?
My
Or is it your 14?
14 is Room.
It did not make my list.
So this movie was my favorite of 2015. I watched it kind of like, okay, here's the thing. I had no idea what this movie was about at all, okay? When I saw it, nothing. Like, I had no idea. And I wish everyone had seen it like that because the trailer gives away a lot. But I literally no idea. I just kept hearing that Brie Larson was getting so much acclaim. And I loved Short Term 12, and I loved her. And I loved United States of Terra, which was kind of like one of her big moments early on. So I was like, oh, I want to see Brie Larson, like, kill it. So I'll just turn this on. Because it had leaked. I admit it. So I turned it on, having no idea what the fuck was happening. I thought they were just poor at the beginning. I didn't know that they were trapped in there. Like, at the very beginning, you don't really know, and then as the, first few minutes of the movie continue, you're like, wait a second, why aren't they, there's no window, like, what's going on? And so I had no idea, and as the story unfolded, I was literally stunned. I was like, holy fucking shit, because I'm fascinated by stories like this. Like, this is a real thing that happens to some people, like, that, they get kidnapped and they're trapped for years, like, their captor holds them for years, and obviously there's people like Elizabeth Smart, which, thank God, she wasn't kept that, I'm sure it seemed like a lifetime to her, but, like, it was not. I think it was like 6 months or something like that, but there are, there was, like, one guy that was keeping, like, a whole family for, like, I think, like, 23 years or something. I want to say in Sweden or somewhere around there. Like, how... Can you fucking imagine your whole life? Like, someone takes your life, but not in the way of... not killing you, but takes your life from you. Like, and just puts you in this place. I can't. So, anyway, the scene where they are trying to escape... like the plan that she comes up with and everything, holy shit. The acting between both of them, first of all, can we talk, because it's, I don't even understand how a child could give the performance that Jacob Tremblay gave. Like, I don't understand how that could be, which we'll talk about more as we get closer to my number one. But Brie Larson also, of course, deserved the Oscar so much. And that scene where he is, like, they're attempting to escape, I don't think any horror movie, thriller, anything in the world has had me more on the edge of my seat. I was literally, like, holding back screams. Like, I was so worked up. Like, I was so deeply afraid. Like, it gripped me so much. Like, I was so afraid that he was going to get caught and they were going to get trapped back in there and he was going to murder them or whatever. Like, I've never been so attached. Like, wow. Like, I was like, I couldn't handle it. It's just a fascinating story, like, and so sad. I thought they could have gotten to more, like, how how a child would acclimate after that, because, like, he's never even seen daylight before. Like, he was born in this, like, shed and never has been out of it, and, like, doesn't. Oh my God, look, Hanson. What?
Watch now on Babel.
Why?
Music.
Wait. Why is Hanson on? What is Babel?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay, I love that. Anyway, so yeah, I love that movie very, very much. End of story. I got distracted, so.
Oh, it's okay.
We're moving on.
My number 14 was a Lars von Trier film.
Ooh.
Melancholia.
Oh, I forgot that was this decade. So
yeah.
good.
Yeah, Lars von Trier, very controversial filmmaker in a lot of ways. This film, I don't think anybody could really debate that it's a very interesting portrayal of depression. And I think in general, it's just a film that...
It's a brilliant portrayal of depression.
Yeah, and I think people will look back on this film and be like, yep, that's an amazing film. Like, this is one of Kirsten Dunst's best films, probably. And is just, like, a beautiful work of cinema that kind of shows what it's like to feel very isolated from the people closest to you, which is kind of what depression is in a lot of ways, is just like isolating from the people closest to you because you don't feel connections anymore.
And how it just can swallow you.
Yes.
Also, it's just beautiful. Like, first of all, just Kirsten Dunst in the wedding dress. Like, hello?
Yeah.
She's beautiful. I mean, she looks like so good. And Alexander Skarsgård too. Stylistically, I love the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of like very cool visual effects that they use. I won't spoil them, but just watch the film. It's long, but it's definitely worth it if you're like inside on a rainy day and you need a good cry or something, and you don't want to feel alone in the world.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your number 13?
My letterbox closed, so let
Uh-oh.
me pull it up. Number 13.
Brought to you guys by Letterboxd.
I wish they were sponsored.
Follow us on Letterboxd. I'm Jay Freeze, JFREEEZE, and Leah is Capria Moon, I'm assuming.
Yep, that's my name. Don't wear it out. My number 13 is The Big Sick.
Word.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pick.
Yep, it's another 2017.
It's not on mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it did, obviously it did really, really well, but I love this movie so much. I think it's really awesome that, first of all, it's a true story. It's true in the sense of the illness that the lead character had in real, she was a co-writer of the movie, and then it's very true to life in the sense of the cultural aspect of someone from, I know that Camille is Pakistani, but it's also very similar to like the Indian culture, and the limitations in that when you're in a relationship with a white person or someone who's not Muslim, and you are, there's a lot of things, obviously, like family values and cultural things that come up, and you really understand both points. You really understand both sides of the story. Like, you completely understand him not wanting to marry a girl from his religion unless he fell in love with her, obviously, but he doesn't. He falls in love with someone outside of it, and you completely understand him wanting his own life in that sense, but then you also completely understand the parents who grew up in this mentality and in this culture, saying like, why are you being so selfish? Like, this is the only thing that we ask of you, is that you marry somebody, from our culture, like, and you totally see both sides of it, and it's such a well-told story. And Holly Hunter and Ray Romano as the parents, come on, like, so good, and you really feel every element of this movie. Like, it's just such an interesting, unique story about what really happened, and it is very, very true to life. Like, they did change a couple of things, but I think because Kumail obviously was the star of it, and the co-writer, and then Emily was the co-writer and on set every day, like, it really was their story, and they were there during the whole making of it, so it wasn't one of those things where Hollywood took their story and turned it into something. It was developed by them. They met with Judd Apatow and developed it over a period of years and worked on the screenplay over a period of years. It took them a very long time. In that period of time, they were both struggling, like, they were married and in love, so they had each other, which is just so nice, especially when you see how the whole movie unfolds. And it's one of my favorite movies, probably ever, not just of the decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, folks.
Alright, what's yours?
Number 13 is a film from last year, The Favorite.
Oh, wow, you liked it that much.
I just think it's just the perfect film about power.
Okay, cool.
And just like leaders in general, and how people try to get in the favor of other people, but you oftentimes lose yourself in that.
They fight and claw.
Yeah, we've talked about this film a lot.
We did a whole episode on it.
It was pretty funny, and cinematically it was cool, and it's probably my only period piece on here that's like very that time period.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just leave it at that, because we've talked about it a huge amount, and this podcast is already 3 hours long.
You love it, guys. You're big fans, we know.
We're getting to the top 10 though. Don't worry, it's coming up.
If you've listened this long, text me because you probably know me personally, or message me and say the word cantankerous.
Cantankerous.
Because I want to know who listened this long.
Wow.
Brendan's gonna text me. Probably that's it. All right, number 12. Mine is Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Wow, that is a good call.
Yeah, you've seen it?
I've not.
Oh!
I've heard it's good though.
It's directed by Lorene Scafaria, who directed Hustlers, and is also the girlfriend of Bo Burnham. Just some facts.
Whoa, what?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they've been together for a while. They have a big age difference. Like, she's in her 40s. So, yeah, it's a really interesting relationship. Like, very cool pairing. Their house must be very interesting to be in and very fun. And very brilliant. So this movie is another movie that totally caught me off guard. It stars Steve Carell and Keira Knightley. And before this, I didn't really get Keira Knightley. Like, I was like, okay, like, I did get it. I'm like, oh, she's beautiful and talented, whatever. But, like, there was no role that she did that I was like, wow. And this is a very wow, like, role for her. And Steve Carell also is so good. It's one of his, like, serious roles, but also, like, obviously his comedic flair does come in. And it's about the world is ending. It's like the world is just about to end. And, like, everyone's scrambling. And it's about, like, the journey of these two people. And they fall in love, like, during the process of the world ending. And, like, it's so beautiful. It is so goddamn beautiful. Like, they have an age difference, too. Like, they're... Like, but it's not weird. Like, even though he's older than her, it's not creepy. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I guess you could just tell that they're soulmates. And she's of age. Like, it's, whatever. Yeah. And like... It's just so beautiful, and the final, I won't give away, like, what they show of the world ending, or, like, how they show it all literally coming to an end. I won't, like, literally spoil it, but the end is so, 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 so beautiful, and it's one of the most romantic movies. And, like, when they fall in love, but the world is ending, it's so sad, and it's, like, it kind of makes a comment about how you should live your life, because, like, we're all gonna die. It could happen tomorrow, like, literally, or right now, but... she's crying because she's so sad that, like, they're not going to get to be together, and she's like, we don't have enough time. And he was like, well, it never would have been enough time. Like, basically, like, I love you so much that, like, no matter how much time we had together, it would never be enough. And it's just so romantic. They sell it so well. Their performances are so, so, so beautiful. And it's a little known movie. Like, most people, I haven't seen it, but I always try to get as many people to see it as possible, because it's just... I'm going to say the word again. It's beautiful.
Word.
Yeah.
For number 12, I'm going to go with Whiplash.
Wow,
I felt kind of bad about leaving Damien Chazelle out, so I last minute added this.
Poor
Because, like, it
Damien.
was definitely a classic when it came out, and I feel like he's gotten overshadowed for some reason. I don't know why. People don't like him.
Wait, why don't people like him?
Like, First Man got kind of silenced, and also, like, people don't really talk about La La Land that much anymore.
First Man is so amazing, but we did an episode on it.
But Whiplash, I just think it's his best film. It will always be his masterwork. It's his first. He had his passion in it. It's also, like, Miles Teller's, like, great role. Like, we might not ever see a role like that from him, crazy enough. Like,
Probably not, let's be real.
Yeah, no, like, just watching him do the drumming in that final scene is just iconic enough and is very cool. And I think it defines, like, a very specific class of people in America who kind of have been trained to be artists their whole lives, and then they get to this point, and then they're faced with, I guess, tough obstacles, and, like, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that you're actually meant to do this? Are you meant to do this? Like, what even does it mean to do something? To be meant to do something?
Yeah.
And just, like, the struggles of being an artist, and how people are literally going to do everything to stop you from getting there. And, like, they're going to try to give you tough love, but maybe tough love isn't what you need. And maybe it is. Who knows?
Maybe it is.
Word.
Thank you, Jordan.
What's your number 11?
My number 11 is Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Word.
We already talked about it on
Extensively.
because it was my favorite movie from last year, so I won't get into it again, but this is something that, okay, so we were talking about a lot how, it's hard to include movies from 2019 and 2018 because it's like you don't really see them stand the test of time or not. And when I was going through all the movies that came out the past decade, I would look at a movie from like, I don't know, 2012 and be like, oh, like I love this movie in 2012, but now I'm like, it's not that I don't still love it, but I just haven't really watched it again or whatever. And you need perspective to really decide what's the best of a certain decade. Like I think I'd have an easier time doing like 99 to 2009 just because now, there's been 10 years since like the last movie made in that year. So, but this movie I've watched multiple times throughout the year, like since I named it my favorite.
Also a good metaphor for the decade and how women are basically just expected to copy men. And that's like the only way they can make money.
Okay, so good point. Yeah, I mean, I turn it all the time and I still think it's just as beautiful. So
Beautiful.
It is.
Melissa McCarthy's best role?
Probably. I mean, she's so good and everything, but I mean, her best role will always be Suki from Gilmore Girls. That's another one that I got in early on. So,
wow.
Anyway, yeah. I'm the best. So here we are.
My number 11 is Taika Waititi's masterpiece, Boy.
Boy?
Yeah, everybody should look it up. It's 87 minutes long, and it is a very interesting film about American culture and just like what we aspire to be in America. Even though it's a New Zealand film done by Taika Waititi, it's like very tied to this child's fascination with Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to see this.
Yeah, no, it's like literally about a New Zealand boy who just is obsessed with Michael Jackson and doesn't really have a father.
Oh my god.
And mother. And like his father kind of comes back into the picture. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's just hilarious. Like, if you haven't seen this film, I was very shocked at how good it is. It's on Canopy.
I'm totally going to watch that.
Yeah, no, highly recommend it. Taika stars in it too, and is one of the main characters in it. He's not the boy, but he's the father, and he plays it so well and just so comically. And it's just like, it's just such an interesting film about kind of pulling back the curtain on like what you learn when you become an adult as opposed to like what you think is going on when you're a kid. Mm-hmm. And like what adults think they're hiding from kids and like how much kids are actually perceptive of and understand the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely a you film because it has a child actor.
Oh, yes. And it involves Michael Jackson, which is a fascination of mine since birth, so.
Yes. On that note, we're going to take another break before we get into our top 10! All right, we're back with your top 10 of the decade. Your top 10 of the 2010s.
My number 10 is a motherfucking masterpiece.
Is it one that I have?
Yes. It's called The Master.
Okay, we're not even going to talk about that yet.
No, we're going to move on.
And I'm going to raise you inside Llewyn Davis, my 10.
We're not going to talk about that yet.
And then I'm going to bring up, okay, what's your number 9?
Young adult.
Hot take. Go off on it.
Oh my god. This movie, I can't. Like, I don't know where to begin on how much I love it. Like, deeply love it.
I've been hearing a lot of love for this film lately on a lot of end of the decade lists.
Yeah, it's really, like, held up well, and it's something that I think over time has gotten, like, more iconic. So it's written by Diablo Cody and directed by Jason Reitman, which is, like, they also paired up for Juno. Yeah. So they first did Juno together.
Diablo Cody wrote Tully?
Yes.
Word.
So then they teamed up for this one as well, but it's a completely different vibe from Juno. So it's about this woman in her 30s, played by Charlize Theron, to perfection, like brilliant performance, who really never aged past high school for specific reasons that you find out later in the movie. And she's just like this bratty woman that doesn't really have any close relationships. She doesn't really have anything real in her life. She, just kind of, she wakes up, drinks Diet Coke, watches reality TV, tries to write, because she's a writer, that's how she makes her living, and then doesn't really. And, like, there's so many little details in it that are, like, brilliant. Like, when she needs to print something out, like, of course, she was too lazy to get printer ink, so she has to, like, spit on the cartridge so that it'll produce a little bit more ink. Like, just little things like that they add into the movie that really builds a character. And she has to go home to her hometown because she's in love with Patrick Wilson, my new neighbor. Literally. And he's great in the movie too. And he gives this pitch perfect performance as this regular everyman guy. Like, just total normal cute guy from Minnesota, inoffensive, like, just perfect. And Patton Oswalt has a supporting role, which it's...
Word.
He's really good in it. He plays a disabled guy.
He's a great film actor.
He's so good. And when
was
he...
Big fan from this decade, or is that way older?
I don't know, but I haven't seen that.
It is insane.
But he...
2009.
Yeah, he plays the disabled guy, and, like, she obviously thinks she's, like, so much better than him, and, like, she only teams up with him in the movie because she doesn't have anyone else that'll even, like, really give her the time of day. And, you know, she's trying to steal the Patrick Wilson character away from his wife because she dated him in high school. And so now it's like 20 years later, he's married with a baby and he has this nice wife. Again, like just normal people. Nothing, you know, is she the most gorgeous woman in the world? No. Is she the most exciting woman in the world? Is she, you know, this glamorous blonde like Charlize? No, she's not. But he loves her and she's a great person and like he doesn't need to have like a model girl. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like she has that kind of like old Hollywood mentality of like, oh, if if you're not like this like glamorous like perfect woman, like, you know, she thinks she can just go there and steal him away and like it'll be so easy, and it's not. Obviously he's like a nice person, and she has like this meltdown, like she's very like subdued during the whole movie, like she's just has a certain mood about her, which is like the bratty teen mood, and then she kind of like loses it toward the end of the movie, and it's just one of the best scenes of ever, never mind the decade. But it's just, this is one of those movies that is pitch perfect. It doesn't really have a nice, neat resolution at the end of the movie because this isn't that character. She's 100% an anti-hero. One of the best female anti-heroes because, you know, you usually have that kind of character. It's like the Walter White or whatever. It's usually a male character. And this is nowhere near Walter White. Like, she's not a murderer or anything like that. She's just not the best person as a result of, like, her traumatic past. And I've seen it so many times this decade, and I could watch it right now and be completely as captivated as I was the first time.
I really want to watch it now.
Oh, it's unreal.
I think it's in the films to see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does it make it?
It might not be. Honestly,
I don't think it
like,
is. Is it? It's very borderline, but
I don't know.
I've been hearing a lot of really great things. No, it's not on the list. I thought it was.
Oh well.
Oh well.
I'll watch it anyway.
Go
Fine.
for it.
Fine.
Thank you.
My number 9 was Call Me By Your Name, which
Mine
we've
is
talked
higher.
about. Oh!
It's
Wow.
much higher. Yep.
Wow. So what's your number 8?
The Descendants.
Wow! Word.
Have you seen it?
No. Or wait, no, I have seen it. No, I'm joking.
Oh my god, I was gonna pass out.
For some reason, when you said that, I just like turned off Alexander Payne and then brought up that Disney thing. And I was like, no, I have not seen the Disney show The Descendants.
Oh my god.
That child actor died.
Imagine if that TV series was higher on my list than The Masters. Like,
Oh wow, you like The Descendants so much. I want to hear this.
okay, so it's
It is a very complex film, and also, yeah.
So my acting teacher is in this movie, Matthew Lillard. I just want to say that. So yeah,
Wait, Matthew Lillard?
Yeah, he had a big impact on me because I took his class when I was not ready to take it. Like, I was nowhere near the actor that you should have been, like the caliber of actor in order to take that class. I just got very lucky to be in it, and he had just done Descendants, like, because I took the class in 2012. So he had just done Descendants, and he was like very affected by that, and he was like very like so proud of it and like very determined to do like that kind of level of quality work after, and like so I just felt like I caught him at a really, really good time. But anyway, the movie is absolutely devastating, and I love that they took Hawaii, which is like this vacation destination that most people use as like a gimmick in their movies, and they just showed like the real side of it, which is like a lot of people actually just live there. Like, it's not, you know, everyone's not partying all the time and like laying on the beach. Like, it's just a normal place, as well as a vacation destination. And George Clooney, you know, he's not playing some hotshot guy like he's playing in any other movie. He's not wearing a nice business suit with his hair slicked back the whole time. Like, of course, he still looks handsome, but It's a more stripped down version of the character that the kind of characters he can play. And he gives a brilliant performance, like completely pulls everything back. Like, like it's the epitome of like, a director saying, okay, do less. Like he does so little, but so much with it. And, Shailene Woodley, I feel like this is the first time we saw her like outside of the she did that show where she gets pregnant at 16 or whatever on ABC Family, and like this was a totally different level of quality for her, and like she really sells her part as well. And I love the kind of like no bullshit aspect of her character and how she and the dad team up on this like adventure or misadventure of traveling around the island to try to find out what the real deal is with, his wife and Shailene's mother. She is in a coma due to like a water accident, and they decide they have to pull the plug on her because she's brain dead. And that's obviously like insanely devastating. But the daughter reveals that the wife was cheating on him, and so Matt plays the guy that she was cheating with. And I love the examination of like cheating in this. It's so good. Like honestly, as someone who like is very close to people who've been through something similar, not with the coma but like the cheating aspect, like just the way that they deal with all of that. Like
also that's funny because it's like Hawaii is the wife and Hawaii is the mistress almost.
Yeah. How do you deal with it when the woman that you love, who you've spent your life with, like you found out that she's betrayed you, but at this point that you find that out, it's irrelevant because she's going to be gone. She is gone. So like the scene where he says goodbye to her, like I'm actually like holding back tears right now thinking about it. I love the whole portrayal of like the marriage between like Matt and Judy Greer, who by the way, underrated actress, amazing. I love her performance in this. And the whole thing of like them going to his house and confronting him. Matt is so good in the scene when they show up at his house. Holy shit. So brilliant. Like, and that look on his face of like, holy fuck, like I'm about to get completely, because of course his wife doesn't know that he's had this affair. And I won't reveal like what happens, but like their conversation, one of the lines that like has always stuck with me is
Alexander Payne has a lot of cheating movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of life. A lot of people do it. And always an interesting thing to explore. But, Matthew Lillard's character's like trying to explain it, and he's like, yeah, like it just happened. And then Clooney says, nothing just happens. And he responds by saying, everything just happens. And I feel like that's like very heavy couple of words there, and it's just one of the best. I love the way it ends too. The final shot is so great, and just for me, one of the best that's ever been done.
Wow.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Snowpiercer, a very different type of film.
Wow, cool. Another movie I watched in college.
Yeah, no, Snowpiercer, we've talked about it recently, I think, because we talked about Parasite a little. Have we talked about Parasite on here?
Not really. Wait, did I talk about Snowpiercer with, maybe it was Brendan or you? Or both?
I don't know if you told me to watch Snowpiercer. You might have told me to watch Snowpiercer on this.
Did I?
I don't know.
I do say
I
that
just love
to
it.
people.
It's great. It's just like a very specific, like you can't make a better train film, can you? I don't think so. It's just insane, the graphics that they have on this. It also feels like kind of what the future is moving towards, which is kind of sad and scary.
Yeah. Is
that like we might literally just be in an apocalyptic world where like we have to be on a train that just keeps moving. Because there's nothing else. That's honestly like where my top 10 kind of go. Oh wait, shit, I jumped actually.
You skipped one?
I did. Oh wait, no I didn't. No, I was on my 8. We talked Call Me By Your Name is higher on your list.
Oh, hell yeah.
But no, I just recently got into Bong Joon-ho, and I'm just a huge fan now, and I wish I was on to him earlier.
Yeah. I loved, like, I thought it was so exciting seeing all the different rooms of the train. Like, you just didn't know what was going to come next. And all the different, like, every room was such a different vibe. And obviously, like, Tilda Swinton is unreal in this movie. Like, she's so good.
She's great in a lot of films.
She's perfect in everything.
Yeah.
My favorite thing that's happened in the history of our world is when Tilda Swinton was an exhibit at MoMA. Do you remember?
No.
Oh my God, Jordan. She just like take a deep breath. Okay, let's just. Okay, so Tilda Swinton was laying in a glass box at MoMA and sleeping, and that was the exhibit.
Wow.
It was everything. Like, it was the highlight of my existence on this planet, and it really didn't have anything to do with me. So, yeah, I think Snowpiercer is absolutely great.
It's perfect film through and through. You don't get a lot of those. What's
True.
your number 7?
First Reformed.
Why am I surprised?
I mean, we talked about it was like my second favorite of last year. I absolutely adore this movie. And honestly, it probably, I don't know, I really grapple with this and Can You Ever Forgive Me? Like, in some ways it's so much better than Can You Ever Forgive Me? In some ways it's not as good. But I've already talked about it at length and we've gone on so long here that I won't. But First Reformed for me is like a perfect movie for sure.
I like it a lot. It wasn't on my list, but it was definitely a classic. Honestly, like, I might look back on it and be like, wow, First Reform was better than I listed it on here. Just because, like, it touches on a lot of very interesting topics, I think, of this decade.
It's important. It really feels important.
It is an important film. Shall I move on to my 7?
Yeah.
I went with High Life.
Whoa! Okay.
I think we're going to look back at High Life once people start to discover it more and more, and I think we're going to say, wow, that is like a film that talks about our time better than any other film. Claire Denis just makes a masterpiece with cinematography, and I feel like as we move forward closer to like space and living in space hell, I think this film was a pretty good portrayal of space and also a pretty good portrayal of the prison industrial complex, which is very rampant and does not seem to be turning around at this point, considering we're just getting deeper in debt. And if Bernie Sanders doesn't become our president, like, we're probably just going to spiral deeper into oblivion where we're in more and more debt and owe more loans and can't pay for our health care and have to end up in debtor's prison in space working on plantations building the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So me and Brendan were recently in my car and we were talking about this movie and we couldn't think of the name. Like, we both had a brain fart at the same time and we kept saying hi. We couldn't think of the word life. Like, at the same time we had the same like just complete like void in our minds, and I could not think of the name of it for so long, so he's like really gonna laugh when he hears this. Our like one listener. Shout out.
Cool. So what's your 6?
My number 6 is a movie that has affected my life in more ways than I ever could have imagined when I first watched it.
Oh my god.
And Jordan's ending up years later.
I did see it in theaters.
You did?
Yeah.
Aw. It's called Tangled. And you're hearing this right now from Flynn and Rapunzel, so you should feel really lucky.
You want to hear something really wild? That was one of my friends who have been dating ever since then's like first date.
Oh,
And I was just theirs third wheel.
how nice.
But now they've been together for 10 years.
Yes,
Because we've
bless
been
them.
together for a decade. Wild.
Are they married?
No, they're not.
But they will.
Shout out Eric and Marilyn.
Hey, Eric and Marilyn. So this movie, so at this time, like when Tangled came out, like I grew up loving the Disney princesses and everything, but at the time I hadn't really been into Disney princesses for a while. Like I just didn't care like that much. But I still love Disney, and I would see like all the new Disney movies. And I missed this one in theaters, actually. I saw it in theaters last year, actually, during the Dream Big Princess thing. But I didn't see it the original. That's how, I just wasn't that interested in princesses at that time. And I ended up watching it at home when it came out on DVD. And I remember turning it on and pausing it in the middle to use the bathroom and thinking that I loved the movie so much that I was genuinely sad that it had to end. Like, I didn't want it to end. And I really do think it's one of the most brilliant films Disney's ever made. I think it's one of the most artful films Disney's ever made. I do think it's better than, like, all the classics from my childhood. Like, I think it's a better film. Like, if you're really looking at, like, the story, the design, the music, the animation, everything. Like, I really think it's better than most of all the other ones. I do think it's better than Frozen. And my favorite thing, there's so much that's good about it. I think it's like very genuinely good for like both like boys and girls. I know that was like a big problem because they were going to originally name the movie Rapunzel, but then like Flynn Rider is like a pretty big character in the movie. Like, even though yes, it's about Rapunzel, like he's not just like there as the prince in it. He has like a full on like storyline of his own, and I think the way that they like develop the two characters during the movie, like you really just buy the love story so much more. It's not just like in Little Mermaid, like I love The Little Mermaid, it'll always be one of my favorite movies, especially from childhood, but like Prince Eric is just a prince. Like, he doesn't have any kind of like, it's just like, oh, he's gorgeous, and she falls in love with him, and like he falls in love with her voice, which is nice that like, you know, he falls in love with her talent, I guess, but it's just, they're not really people. They're, you know what I mean? Like, Ariel is more of a more of a developed character, but he's not really a person. He's just there. And so I love the development of all the characters. I think the relationship between Mother Gothel and Rapunzel is so sad and so true to life. Like, all of her passive aggressive comments and the abuse, like the more quiet abuse, the more subdued abuse, rather than her just like, you know, being like physically abusive or something. Is so sad and so heartbreaking, and I think that the movie is genuinely funny. I love the jokes, I love the bits, I love the drunk old tiny man in the Snuggly Duckling. Like, he still makes me laugh so much. And my favorite part of the film, probably besides just like all of the visuals, like obviously the lantern scene is next level animation. It's just stunning. I think that the portrayal of Rapunzel's parents, who obviously lost their baby at such a, you know, young age. I think she was like a few days old or something. They made the artistic choice to not give them any lines. So everything that you need to see, it's like the epitome of like the first thing you learn in film school is like show, don't tell, because it's a movie. Yeah. And they don't tell. They literally show. The look on their faces makes me cry every single time. The animation is so detailed and perfect. You can see everything on their face. They don't have to say anything. Because you understand what it would be like to lose a child, like how horrible that is, and everything is on their face. And even like the guard at the end, like when Rapunzel comes home and the guard runs into the room that the king and queen are in, and he just looks at them with like this frenzied look on her face, like on his face. Like, seriously, go back and watch the scene if you haven't, like if you're interested in film at all. Like, the look on his face says everything. Like, he doesn't have to say like Rapunzel's here, or like she's alive, or she's home, or like anything. He doesn't say anything because they've literally been waiting for her to come. I'm gonna cry. They've been waiting for her to come home every day of the past 18 years. So like, that moment has been on everyone's.
This was Room
mind.
Before Room.
Yes. But it's kind of like similar. That moment has been on everyone's mind for the past 18 years. And you see that in their face. This is a kid's movie. Can we talk? Because like, it's so brilliant. And it just obviously like, it affected my life greatly. Like, Rapunzel's like my second skin. I play her all the time. She's my favorite character to play. She's my favorite Disney character. And I just think whether you are obsessed with Disney or you don't even care about Disney, any person would love this movie. It is so well crafted and well thought out, and is just, in my opinion, like one of the best things Disney's ever done. The end.
Word. My number 6 is Parasite.
Thanks for listening. Parasite, wow.
A film from this year. Have we talked about it on here yet? I'm not sure.
We talked about it.
Yeah. It was great. I think it's one of the best films of the year.
We did talk about it on our last episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just think it's great. I think it's going to stand the test of time. Bong Joon-ho is one of our great filmmakers right now, and I think everything he makes is a very different topic, and he does it in a very interesting and singular way each time.
Yep.
And we don't really need to talk about it that much more because we all know he's a genius, and we all know he's going to win Best Language Film this year.
It's like, what could actually be said? But I will say again, which I know I said this last time, if the Academy doesn't fucking have the balls to just nominate it in Best Picture, I will scream.
Oh, I think they will. Especially after Roma. I think people realize this is better than Roma.
I hope so. I mean, I love Roma, but damn.
What's your number 5? We're into the top 5.
My number 5 is The Irishman. Like, I'm not even gonna, like, what's the point?
We don't need to go into it. You guys have heard Leah gush and gush and gush. And
I mean, I don't even know if I did talk about it last time, right?
yeah, no, we talked about it a lot.
It doesn't matter. It's the best. That's it. And that's all I have to say.
It did not make my list, but I think it's a great film. Scorsese is a master. Do I think it's the best Scorsese? Probably not. Do I think it's like a very necessary film for his complete masterworks? Yes, because I think it talks about a lot of like his past in an interesting way, and I like it for that aspect. I also think it's a good performance by like Joe Pesci
and everyone,
Robert De Niro and whatever.
Wait, what I'm actually gonna say though is like, so the scene when he goes up to the window of the bank to talk to his daughter and she won't talk to him, and he's like on a, he like has like, you know, like he has like a walker and like he's old. That scene like literally kills me so much, and like I would never like not talk to my dad, but like I mean maybe I would if he was a fucking murderer, but like that scene makes me like, it literally makes me want to go like hug my dad every time I see it. Like De Niro's face, like that she won't even like she will not even talk to him. Like she won't like it's not even worth to her like her saying like I don't want to see you. Like she will not even look at him. Ugh. I need a nap.
My number 5 was a film that also came out this year, and I think it's an instant classic, and it was engineered for the entire decade with many different protagonists in mind and many different NBA players in mind, and it is Uncut Gems, the Safdie brothers' masterpiece that talks so much about American masculinity when it comes to capitalism.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's really much else to say because I don't want to spoil the film, but just watch it because you will be excited the whole time. Obviously, like, if you're my grandma, like my grandma went to see it, this is not like a film for you, grandma. I'm sorry that you went to see it. I would not have recommended you go. I meant for people who are under the age of 50 to see it for the most part.
Wait.
And some people over the age of 50 who are probably more in tune to like film and thrillers in general. But no, my grandma did not like it. She hated Uncut Gems.
Really?
I did not go with her, but my mom went with her, and my mom said she hated it the whole time. My mom didn't love it when she saw it, but now it's growing on her, and my dad is like, I want to watch it again. So,
I adored it.
Those are a bunch of different generations. I think if you're like in our generation, you'll love it, because I think it shows like the world that we were given in a very clear way.
It's very specific.
Yeah, it's very cool also because it takes place in 2012, but it came out at the end of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like looking back at a time when like Obama won his presidency again, and like we still were gambling even after the 2008 collapse. Like we just went back in, we doubled down, we didn't understand our mistakes, and now we're in the same place.
One thing I want to point out that I was thinking about like when I couldn't sleep last night was like the juxtaposition of the two women in his life. His wife, like who's older, not old by any means, but older than his current girlfriend, who's like, I don't know, maybe like 28 or something. She's not that young. She's not like too young for him, but like obviously she's young. And like he's cheating. Like his wife knows that he's cheating. She's like totally done with him. She just basically lives in the house with him. Like they're obviously not. They're legally married, but they're not together. You know what I mean? And it's like the perfect, like it I don't know if they did this on purpose, probably. Like I don't think I'm like the only person that thought of this or anything like that, but like I think it's a good story about age, like because when you're in your 20s, like it's exciting and fun to have a boyfriend like that, and when you're like that, and when you're like the wife's age, you're like, I'm like, you're not impressive to me. Like, oh, you think you're so like such a man because you gamble and have like,
well, that's what's
you know what I mean? Like
he's like Sandler sees himself as like this uncut gem, and like has all this potential, but like his wife knows he has no potential. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yep, I know exactly what you do. You could go off and keep gambling, but I know what you do.
Yeah. And like this girl is like so like young and hot, and like the fact that he turns her on, and the fact that like and like there's that whole scene at the club and everything, where she's like kind of, she's like cheating on him or whatever, but it's like, are there any rules? It's like, well, he's cheating on his wife. Like, why would she hold herself to a higher standard than he is? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it's just that difference. Like, I also think there should be a movie where they show, like, I guess it's kind of like 500 Days of Summer, but like, the first day that you meet someone and you don't know about any of their bullshit and you're just like captivated by them, versus like the wife that's been there for 10 years or 15 or 20 years and is like, I know all of your dirty fucking shit and I'm not interested anymore. And I love that scene between them where, like, he's now lost the girlfriend, so suddenly the wife is incredibly valuable to him all of a sudden. And, he's like, I really want to make this work. And she's like, I never want to see you again. Ugh.
Just like oh god. Yeah. The way that it just portrays, like, wealth and how, like, young women are just drawn to wealth because it's like, well, yeah, I don't have any money, like, why not? And it's just like, but he doesn't have the money.
No.
He's literally just trying to make all this money so that he could have sex with this young woman when he used to have sex with a young woman.
Yeah. And by the way, Idina Menzel looks super hot in this movie. Like, he does not have a ball and chain wife or anything at all. Like, he's just selfish.
Well,
like,
that's why it works, yeah, because she's like an iconic actress in her own right.
Yeah, like, most men would be, like, very thrilled to be married to her, like, and, but not him.
She made the money this year.
Hell yeah. Oh, God. She has more money than God.
Uncut Gems. Damn.
Yeah.
Look at her money pile up. What's your number 4?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Cool.
Let's move on.
Well, my number 4 is The Master.
Yay!
I just rewatched The Master recently. I think we've talked about The Master a lot on this podcast in side conversations. I don't know if we've given it its due on the podcast in its own conversation, but just one of Paul Thomas Anderson's masterpieces. I think it applies to power dynamics.
Maybe his biggest masterpiece.
I think so. Like, Amy Adams is at her best. Philip Seymour Hoffman is at his best.
Philip is just... He's not a human. Like, he is better than any of us.
Joaquin Phoenix kind of plays the aimless white man, which is, like, kind of defined his decade, but in a different way. This aimless white man.
I would love to, like... Imagine being a fly on the wall during the filming of this.
There's not a lot of people, like, Philip Seymour Hoffman's gone, so it's just like, you look back and they're probably like, wow, this can never happen again, because it can't. You're never going to have this many talented actors and actresses in the same room doing this type of stuff, which is just, like, very, very intense scenes, very, very intense psychological dynamics, very, very intense, like, script work that they're dealing with. And he just shoots it in such a beautiful way. Paul Thomas Anderson, the GOAT. Honestly,
man.
He's, like, also interestingly kind of, like, stayed out of the media. And I think that's kind of smart. He kind of just drops films and he says, like, yep, I know they're good. Peace.
Yeah.
I'll let Maya Rudolph, my wife, do more cool stuff and, like, be more out on the internet and trending.
She does a lot. Like, it's so funny. I always forget that they're together. And
they're such a sick couple.
They really are.
Best couple.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
When is he gonna put her in a movie, by the way? My number 3 is Call Me by Your Name.
Heard.
Oh my God, I can't even describe how much I love this movie.
Is it our best love story on our list?
It's one of the best love stories of all time. It really is. Like, at the time that I saw this, I was on a break from a relationship that was... Wow, that was like a very telling laugh based on conversations Jordan and I have had that will remain private. Yeah, I was on, like, a very pretty short break from the relationship, but a break nonetheless. So, like, I was extremely tender to, like, watch a movie like this. And I remember when it ended, like, I was more seeing it out of obligation. Like, I really didn't think I was going to love it that much. I was seeing it because it was, like, one of those movies at the end of the year that is endlessly praised, and you just have to see it to see if you will connect to the way that other people are. And basically from the first frame, I was completely enveloped in it and captivated, and I couldn't believe how closely it represented that kind of like deep love and passion between two people. Like how, like when you're like that in it with someone, like just sitting in the same room and talking is like almost like sexier than having sex. You know what I mean? Like that level of like intensity. And I remember when the movie ended, I like rarely do this, but I just sat there and like stared at the screen, like absolutely stunned by what I had just seen, like unable to speak, like not interested in moving.
I was bawling.
Yeah, like just
there was
like,
definitely a guy cleaning up popcorn who caught me just like visibly like crying.
Just like tears just like falling, like not even like just being in like a different level of like existence in that moment. And watching it like multiple times after and noticing all the little details of our relationship that are just so real. Like again, this is like about a secret relationship. It's about having to hide, and like they both just accept that like they can't be together, right? And it's like that phone call at the end, like they don't even have to say they don't have to say the things that like
God, I'm getting like chills.
I know. Like they don't have to say all the things that like a lesser movie would have them say, right? Like a lesser movie would have them be like, I miss you so much, I don't know what to do, like what the fuck, this is awful, like let's meet up or something. They're not going to meet up. He has to marry this other person. That's it. And he just says, I remember everything. Like that to me, I almost like passed out. I was like, okay, this is the best movie of all time. And if you watch the movie, and I'm sure everyone listening, if you got this far in the podcast, you've watched this movie probably 10 times. It's like there's so many little details. Like when
what is it on streaming wise? Like, can you even watch it somewhere?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
Huh. I've not watched it multiple times. I've only watched it that time in the theater.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like I don't know. I've watched it a lot, but my favorite, like one of my favorite moments, I mean, I can't have one, but like one of my favorite moments is when they get to leave on that trip together and they're finally like not under the roof of the parents and stuff. So like they get to be on a trip together. Like they get to be alone. They get to be just like gay, and they get to just like be together without like having to like sneak around so much, and like they get to be in a place where like people don't know them, so like they don't have to really hide, and you can just tell he starts laughing. Oliver starts laughing, and like they don't really address it. It's like, he just starts laughing like when the bus is about to like leave, and they don't, again, like there's so many moments that they don't have to like get into why, like, but like if you've been in a relationship, he's laughing because like they're free all of a sudden. Like it's just so good, and every single moment is like that. Every single moment is like bleeding with this like passion and reality that like if you've ever been in love, and I mean like
it's also the difference between like your first relationship and your first love.
Yeah, your first like real shit.
Deep in love, and just like having your heart broken for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Yeah, and like so this is something really personal I'm gonna share, but I don't care because like this is what we're here for in the world. So like that relationship that I was on a break from, like when we started talking again soon after, we hadn't even talked about the movie, obviously, because we were not talking, but he had seen it and I had seen it, and he just like sent me like a screenshot of the song like from the movie Mystery of Love, and like it was again like it was like a moment in the movie. Like we didn't have to talk about why he was sending me that song. Like we didn't talk about why he was sending me that song. I understood, he understood, and that was it. Like the way that this movie shows such restraint, like it could have been so bad, this movie, like they could have totally overwritten it, and they don't. Like they just did it perfectly.
Yeah, I think that's what's really beautiful about it. I also like, once again, like I was saying with Tangerine, like it was good to have like a gay romance that really wasn't about the gay thing. Yeah. Also,
it's just about love.
Just about love.
And oh my God, there's gonna be a sequel.
Yes.
Thank you, baby Jesus.
I hope they don't ruin it though.
They won't.
I'm sure it's gonna be good.
It's gonna
but
be
like,
amazing.
yeah, we might never see those two have roles as great as that.
Well, because there are no there is no, the movies are not this good normally.
Yeah.
Like
now I've seen Timothy Chalamet in like 5 movies after that, and it's just like that was like special.
Yeah, I mean,
like
he's great.
We might never see a performance of him acting that's as good as that. And
No.
like people were like, "Oh, he was too young to win Best Actor," but he probably should have won it for that role. Won it. And then we should have just moved on from him and let him do whatever he wanted. Because like now it's just like, oh, are we just gonna get like a Leo career now where we just watch him constantly and he's constantly trying to outpace other people and do crazier shit? I don't know.
I would have loved to see Leo in Army's role actually, but that's an alternate universe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my number 3 is Sorry to Bother You.
Oh yeah,
you knew this was coming.
You love it so much.
I've talked about it extensively on this, but like, once again, if like Bernie Sanders isn't our president, then like I think we're just moving closer and closer to Sorry to Bother You. Not like the weird sci-fi stuff, but just like the concept of a company controlling us and holding our heads underwater basically. And like we're forced to work for them, and if we don't stomp on our fellow man to like get up in that one company, then like we're screwed, which is kind of what we have with Amazon. Like Amazon literally controls the entire like retail marketplace. Apple controls the entire like technology marketplace. Google owns all of our data, and Facebook knows all of our personal lives. And it's just like, yep, we let this happen because we did not care and we saw it happening and we were just like, yep, I'm going to work hard and try to get higher than other people. Definitely watch it. It's good comedy, very stylistic. Tessa Thompson and Lakeith Stanfield were definitely icons of this decade. And I think this film is like a good culmination of both of their personalities and both of kind of what they stand for. Also, Boots Riley just made a great film and kind of chose to stay out of the film industry as opposed to playing the game. And I don't think you should be punished for not playing the game because he made an amazing film.
Word. Wait, this movie is Best Earrings in a Motion Picture.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Best fashion. What was your number 2?
Inside Llewyn Davis.
I love it.
This movie, like... Ugh.
Has a special place in my heart.
Me too.
Great cat. We've talked about it a lot because I feel like we did a Coen Brothers episode at some point.
We did a Coen Brothers episode?
Didn't we?
No.
No? Am I serious?
I think you made that up.
Did we not talk about pick our favorite Coen film? I feel like that happened at one point.
Maybe, but we definitely didn't do a whole episode.
Maybe not. You're right.
I think I did. I feel like I did talk about this, but I don't know. I mean, it's just so important. Like, I watched it every day at one point. Like, I don't really do that anymore. But
it's so good.
I know. I used to watch it every day. Actually, it was my first semester of college ever. And, like, I was, like, my whole life I was, like, very not into going to college. And then suddenly I was going. And, like... it was like the spring semester, so it started off like being very, very cold, and I would just be like freezing my ass off, and I'd be in this like new environment where I didn't know anybody and I didn't know what to do, and then like I would come home and watch this movie every day, and it like comforted me so much because I was like, oh, like this is the whole point of like why I'm on this planet. Like this is like the whole like point. This is like all the pursuit of like any artist or actor. Like if you don't love this movie, there's like something wrong with your brain, and I would suggest like getting help, because like if you can't relate to this as an artist like or as a person, I just don't understand that. Like
it's so sad that like this New York doesn't exist. Like you can't even be an artist in New York like this.
His exhaustion is so like has artistic exhaustion ever so well been portrayed? Like, but he still like keeps going. He's out there with this fucking guitar and like walking down the street and you know on the road trip with John Goodman. Which, can we talk please? Because like I can't handle how good it is, and everything. Him and Carey Mulligan, his little like. Their little scene at the like, she's so done. This is another one where she's like so over it. Like, you know, she loves him, but like she's so done. She's like, are you kidding me? Like, how much longer am I gonna have to deal with this? You know, and and this introduced me to Oscar Isaac, which I had never seen or heard of him before. And like, I mean, I think we all needed, like, a shot of heroin or something after experiencing him in this movie, because it might be the best debut of all time. And I don't understand how he isn't a recording artist. Like, I don't get that, because he's so talented and I still listen to the music all the time.
Yeah, he honestly played the role of a folk singer just so delicately and just in such a wonderful way. Like, I don't think anybody could have watched that and been like, damn, like, I wish this was more of a Dylan character. Like, he just played it in such a cool way that made you be like, no, I like that it's inside Llewyn Davis. Like, I like that we're following the scumbag kind of like grifter.
It is, it's almost, it's a version of Bob, but it's based on Dave Von Ronk.
Word.
Who was a real artist. And he actually did record one of the songs they did in the movie. I can't remember now. I used to know all the trivia on this movie like it was in my own biography. But yeah, I just love the whole, like, the portrayal too of, like, the 60s scene. Very interesting. And, like, I think, like, when he says, like, I'm exhausted in a way that, like, can't be fixed with sleep, or, like, whatever that line is, it's, like, so true. Like, as an actor, I've literally, like, I went on my first audition at age 7, and now I am 87. So, like, so, like, it's been a long time, and, like, I'm so exhausted. Like, I can't even, sometimes I think, like, I'll just see, like, a tweet or something from a casting director, and I'm like, I'm quitting. Like, I'm like, I can't do, and I'm like, why am I like, what is wrong with me? Why am I doing this? Like, why would anyone do this? And, like, I guess how good the movie is, like, reminds you of why you do it. And that's another reason why I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is, like, that movie just reminded me of why I even try this. Like, so,
I love the ending.
Yes, I love
just, like, stylistically, like, the whole film form fits the themes as well. So it's just, like, all together, just, like, one of the greatest films ever, I think.
This is a movie that I'll, like, often buy people. Like, I feel like that's more of a thing people do with books. Like, they'll just give someone a book that they read that they loved, or they'll buy it for them. Like, I buy people this DVD, and I just give it to them. Like, whether or not, like, it doesn't have to be someone who's, like, into music, too. And, like, I also, like, will play them the song, like, the Fare Thee Well song. Like, if they don't know this movie, I just, like, play them that song, and, like, just, like, let's just sit in silence and listen to this song, please.
Cool.
Yeah.
My number 2 film is Get Out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't have to talk about it too much because we had a Get Out. Do we have a Get Out episode? No, I was in New Orleans still when I saw this, I think.
Yeah,
right?
we didn't have an episode.
I was definitely in New Orleans when this came out, actually. I think. Did I see this in New Orleans? I think I saw it in New Orleans. Get Out was just, I think, a perfect film for when it came out. Key and Peele was definitely the most iconic sketch show of, like, our decade, most likely.
It's so fucking good.
So, like, I just think it's fitting that, like, the best sketch comedian also made one of the best films. And it was a horror film. I think there's a lot of, like, cultural things that came from Get Out that we're going to talk about for generations and generations. It was just a masterpiece from, like, straight out of film school in a lot of ways. Everything about it was just so detailed and to the point. And I think at the time, the racial stuff was more impactful, but I think, like, as we go further, like, I think we're going to look at it more from, like, class perspectives. Mm-hmm. Which is, like, a lot of what it is. And if you're, like, getting deeper than the initial surface and the stupid people watching it for the first time, and, like, Stupid America. Like, Stupid America could get the race stuff, but, like, America doesn't really get the class stuff of that. And I think that's, like, the really cool shit. Is just how, like, rich white liberals will always try to subject other people and, like...
And just try to control everything and just think they can take whatever they want, even if it's a person.
Yeah. It's just, like, the metaphor for colonization and just, like, do you, like, realize what's going on around you? And, like, a lot of white liberals had to watch that film and be like, oh, God, I am that dad. Like, I am terrible. Like, obviously you're not that violent and doing things on that level. But, like, you watch that and you're like, oh, yeah, I am still white. Like, which is good. Like, we needed to be told that shit. Like, because Black Lives Matter is still a thing. And, like,
it definitely had a lot of good cop interactions in a way that wasn't like too triggering, but was like very very representative of the time that we're living in.
Yeah, and also this was another like very big cultural moment. It was so exciting to see this movie because like there was so much hype around it, and like you just knew it was something special and that it was going to be really good, but you just didn't know in what way exactly. And like it was one of those things that you like when I went to see it, I was like so excited, and it did live up to the hype for me. Like I was very into it the whole time, and it is like a genuinely unnerving, like especially the performances, like just the look on their faces, like the people that had been, you know, I guess you could just say taken into the sunken place, like especially what's her name, the maid, I can't remember, but like that scene between them, like oh my god, like that look on her face, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was also like the introduction to Caleb Landry Jones, who just had a very interesting year that year and had like a lot of very cool like crazy white brother, crazy white cousin roles, it felt like.
Word.
This film was I don't think we could talk about it enough. I feel like we're going to look back 20, 30 years from now and be like, yep, Get Out. And a lot of people are going to try to mimic it and do similar things.
Yeah.
What's your number one?
My number one is The Florida Project, obviously.
Obviously. We've talked about The Florida Project a lot. So I guess we'll talk about it in tandem with another Florida film, Moonlight.
Oh, wow. But very different movies.
Very different, but also like very similar about just being a child and how much the way you're raised and like the adults around you influence your life and your happiness in a lot of ways.
My favorite actress in the world is Brooklyn Prince, the little girl from Florida Project.
Yeah.
That's another performance that I just don't understand how it happened. Like when you're that young, how do you understand that? Like, and she didn't understand the depths of what was going on in the script, but like at the same time she did in some way. Like she performed it perfectly, so she must have understood it on some level.
Yeah, it's like the same level of when the child version is just like, what's a faggot? And
Yeah.
it's like when you see that scene, you're just like, damn, they don't even know the magnitude of this scene. Like, it's literally just like a child who hasn't even lived through the hate of the world yet and is like uttering this, but like you still can see it in his eyes and like see the pain of his bullying.
And just like the whole like, I don't even know, like, but like, okay, so Moonlight is like so good that like I don't even know how to talk about it because I feel like I am not even like I'm not like good enough to talk about it. like I don't, not like good enough as a person, but like good enough in my like articulation to like even explain.
I get goosebumps like every time I see a picture from this film.
Yeah.
It's just so beautifully shot. I saw this in New Orleans, like at the New Orleans Film Festival, and people were like, yeah, you have to see this film, like you have to see Moonlight, like this is the film, like it's premiering here, like we're doing some stuff here, yeah, like check it out. And like I was like, oh, when I saw that film, like I was like, this is what filmmaking is. Literally just like, it was also a very bizarre time in my life when I saw that film. I was finishing up college and doing my capstone film, very depressed, in a weird like kind of relationship, kind of not relationship. Also figuring out my sexuality and considering a lot of that stuff really stuck with me.
I love every scene. I was gonna like talk about a specific scene, but then I realized there were like 10 other scenes that I loved like just as much. Obviously like everything on the beach and the entire like last 20 minutes. Yeah, like I don't just like the way that they're like just even looking at each other. If you watch that scene on mute, like you will still if you watch the whole movie on mute, you will still understand completely everything. It's visual storytelling at its best.
And yeah, I think with both of those films, like at the age that I am now, like I look back at my childhood, I look back at my teen years, and I'm just like, damn, I wish I could like feel that way again. And like you definitely see that at the end of Moonlight, and you definitely feel that from like the parents, how they're like stressed that they can't give their children innocence in the Florida Project.
The Florida Project, just like, again, that's like another movie that made me realize like why I even try this, like why I'm even in this like business or whatever. Like if you can portray something that well and in such a detailed manner that feels so real, almost like you're watching a documentary, but even better, then like if someone can do that, like if Sean Baker can even do that, then like the pursuit of all this that we're doing is worth it. But yeah, I don't know if any other movie, like I just love what it says about the world, and I love the way that it was shot. Obviously, you know, like everyone knows, I mean, I guess everyone who listened to this podcast knows the story of like how this was made and all that kind of stuff, so I don't even need to get into it. But I just love every frame of it, and I can't like again, this is like another one where I'm like, it's too good for me to even like articulate why I love it so much. Every scene is so beautiful and so sad and so like, it's like sickeningly beautiful or like sickeningly upsetting. And the final scene with, I love the way it ends. The ending's very controversial of this movie. Some people hate the ending. I absolutely love the ending. Thought it was perfect. Especially someone who has like escaped to Disney literally many times, especially when I was going through hard things in my life, and I had a friend that worked there, so I could go there cheaply and just kind of like run rampant, like completely relate. But Brooklyn Prince is outstanding in that last scene where she has to cry, and it's that feeling she captures. Well, they all, I mean, obviously she's not the only person who worked on this scene, but like that feeling when you're a kid and things are chaotic around you and you don't have control over what's happening, and you're like so upset and mad and frustrated because you can't do anything about what's happening. And like when she's saying goodbye to her friend and she's crying, and she just says, "I can't say it." That she's like such a little girl. She's like the age of like the parties that we do. Like she's just like a baby. And she's just like doing this scene. Like, come on, man.
Well, I feel like that's just the difference in like class in America in a lot of ways too. Is like there's some people in America who get to enjoy Disney, and there are people who get to enjoy princess parties and like have this magical experience, and then there's some people who are just kind of abandoned by their parents because their parents have to work constantly and they have to make their own fun, and they get themselves into trouble that like could ruin their lives. And like they're really not,
Right, it's such a different world, and you know that this little girl doesn't even, like, sure, she's heard about the Disney parks, like, she knows that they're there, like, she knows about Mickey Mouse and stuff, but, like, she doesn't even know, like, when you're raised in a motel by, like, a teen mom, what do you even know? Like, you don't even know what the world is, like, you don't know that there's a life outside of that, you don't know that there's a life outside of, like, running around in 80, 90 degree weather, and, like, at the same time, though, like, I obviously had a very different childhood than this. Like, I had like, compared to this, I had a fucking luxurious childhood in a castle. Well, real. But, like, it really, like, I love the way that he shot it, because it really felt like you were with the kids.
Yeah.
And it really felt like your childhood again. Like, I had a very, like, my mom was, like, more strict, but I, like with, like, she wouldn't let me go anywhere alone. Like, she's very nervous about something happening to me, but I had, friends growing up that were also, like, very poor, and, they didn't live at a motel, like, they did have a house, but it was, like, very run down, and, like, they didn't have any money, and, like, the mom had 5 kids, and my mom was always, like, buying her, like, diapers and all this stuff, because she literally just, like, didn't have any money, and, like, she couldn't be as strict with her kids, because she had 5 of them, and could barely, like, take care of one, so, like, when I was over there with them, like, we would just run around the whole neighborhood freely. Like, we didn't have to ask to leave the house. We didn't have to ask to go over to the neighbor's house. We didn't ask anything. We just would leave and walk through the woods and go to someone's house and then end up, you know, getting in the car with their older brother and driving to the movies and seeing a movie and then coming home and then, like, you know, being in the woods at night and there's a bonfire, and that kind of shit would never ever happen, like, under my mom's supervision ever.
Yeah.
And so, like, it felt so wild to me and, like, crazy, and, like, anything can happen, and that feeling, like, had I not had that experience with that family, I don't think I would have got this movie as much as I did. But, like, just the whole, like, the way that he shoots, like, on their level, like, them, like, running around, and that kind of, like, summer vibe when it's, like, hot and you're home from school and you have nothing to do and you're just, like, getting into trouble, like, whether it's, like, real trouble, like, what they get into, or just, like, kid trouble that's, like, nothing. Yeah, I mean, I could literally, like, do a commentary on this movie and break down every scene. It's my number one of the decade, so thank you, Sean Baker.
And thank you guys so much for listening to Movie Cinema Film. You guys make us so happy, and we're gonna watch a lot more movies in the new decade.
So many movies.
Maybe we'll even be in some movies.
We will be. I was just in a movie this year, actually. It's called Inside Game, and I was in a scene with Scott Wolf and Will Sasso, so look out for that. It didn't come out. It was in the movies. It didn't come out yet, so.
Peace.
Yeah, bitch.
Love. Yeah, bitch. Movie Cinema Film. Good night.
Bye.